City of Northglenn, Channel 8, keeping you informed of events in your community.
Good evening and welcome to our March 25th City Council study session. Joanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Dodge? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Escobar?
Here.
Councilmember Sowers? Councilmember Leidy?
Here.
Councilmember Downing?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Whitman?
Here.
Councilmember Duran-Mullica? Here. Councilmember Wilford?
Here. All right, we have one item tonight on the study session. It is an economic development overview and financing tools incentive. Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge and members of the council. This evening we are providing an ED 101 and financing tools presentation for council. The intent of this presentation is to help provide a deeper level of understanding of our economic development strategies, in particular for those members of council that are new history in terms of what we've done historically and why. So unfortunately, Debbie Tuttle, our economic development manager, is sick this evening, and so Brooke, Jason, and I are going to tag team this presentation. My hope is that you'll ask questions, and if there's any remaining items that you want to have additional discussion about, that you let us know that, so that way we can schedule an additional session if we need to in the future. So just starting briefly with economic development and NERA reporting structure. NERA is a separate entity from the city of Northglenn. So you can see on the right side of this chart that there's a NERA board, and Councilmember Brown serves as a liaison to that board. And then Debbie Tuttle, our economic development manager, wears two hats. She serves in the role as executive director for the NERA board, along with our finance director, Jason Loveland, who serves as the treasurer to the NERA board, and Susan Baca, our executive assistant, serves as the clerk to that board. And so in terms of finances, those are separate from city finances. NERA has their own attorney that advises the board on any legal matters. So why is economic development important? There's a multitude of reasons why economic development is important. The attraction of new businesses to our community. Jason in his slides will talk more about the specifics of what that looks like from a sales and use tax perspective and property tax basis. Retention and expansion of businesses. That's an important role that Debbie and then Shannon, our economic development specialist, play in terms of retention, fostering job retention and creation, building the local tax base here in the city of Northglenn, capital investment and wealth generation, supporting the community with retail services. This is where you will hear staff say, we want you to shop local, and that circles back to the connection and tradition that I talk about with the sales and use tax and investing in our community. Economic development really supports infrastructure improvements, and this looks different based on site specifics. And we have some examples included in this presentation tonight that go into a little bit more of the history that some of you may not be familiar with in terms of how we've used urban renewal and different financing incentive agreements that we have in place. And then overall diversification of our businesses in order to provide choice so our residents and citizens don't have to go outside of Northglenn, they can stay within. So what do you need to know? Decide what your community wants and needs are and have an understanding of the general changing demographics of the community. I think it's important to understand the competition that exists in retail leakage, to the point that I just made in terms of if there's not a business or a type of business in Northglenn, you have to go outside of our community for that business. That's a real basic example of that. Having a balance between primary and retail businesses, which we'll talk a little bit more about, understand why a diversified economy is important in the overall fiscal sustainability of Northglenn, understanding the tax dollars and how that works, so what that means for the revenue that the city brings in on an annual basis and how we project and anticipate what we're going to receive. Understanding what's in, as we have here, quote unquote, toolbox for incentives and business assistance tools, and NERA plays an important role in that, and then the city has the ability to utilize certain tools, and oftentimes that's a partnership between the two entities. And then success stories for utilizing incentives and business assistance programs, and I think Debbie's most recent report to mayor and council, I want to say just a couple of meetings ago, she really went through and captured what types of incentives have been put in place, from sign grants to grease interceptor grants and things like. So we're talking about small scale things all the way leading up to larger scale SDEP agreements and whatnot. So we'll dive more into that, and I think next up is Brooke.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple of things we're going to touch on next is the comp plan, in which is somewhat sort of the overarching guiding document that for a community perspective we look toward, is sort of setting the bumpers and the guidelines in which our priorities are focused toward. What I'm going to do is Debbie actually highlighted in Chapter 6 of the comp plan the economic development objectives here. And what I want to be able to do is take a little bit of time with each one of these, because underneath each one of these is a strategy for implementation. And the reason for mentioning these is because we're doing almost every single one of these things now in some shape or form, just to let you know and reinforce the fact that not only does Debbie and the leadership recognize these attributes, but also that we are ineffective trying to carry them out. And I think it's just important, since Debbie's not here, to sort of highlight the effort that we've done. So under this first one, it says create a more diversified, well-balanced economic base. Improve the area's educational, housing, open space, recreational, retail, and cultural amenities that encourage retention and attracting businesses in the city. We're doing the Civic Campus Master Plan. We've done several. We're deeply engaged, in which we are focused on our cultural arts and whatnot as a key center point. We've done that through things like Webster Lake Promenade with the art installations, things like that. So that's an example of what we're trying to do with that. The next strategy underneath this particular policy is use all available tools such as Federal Environmental Protection Agency, Brownfields Program, state enterprise zones, other economic development programs to facilitate capital investment for the retention, expansion, and attraction of businesses. So once again, as some of you may know, and Mara knows more well than anything, is that we got a $400,000 EPA grant that we've been doing brownfields assessments on that has been instrumental, especially with the marketplace, and also I believe we used it on the court property as well as, yet again, to help facilitate and augment the execution of new projects. Also, I know that Debbie is constantly promoting the state enterprise zone options for new businesses to come in. So that's an integral part of her messaging moving forward. Next, moving on here, the next one is further enhance and solidify the retail sales tax base. Develop a database of retail space and work with property owners on marketing campaign to attract more retailers to the city. Work to provide economic incentives that aid in the capture of strong retailers. Continue to foster strong partnerships with area brokers, developers, retailers in order to attract quality business and development projects. And I can tell you that if there's anything that Debbie works more tirelessly on, is these three things right here, and that's why I wanted to mention them, because she does have a database that she knows when businesses are going to go in and add lots of jobs. They do regular outreach, which is another thing coming up here with the Berea, with the existing community to find out what we need to do, the lunch and learns. All of these things are integral components to the execution of that particular policy statement. Moving on to the next one here, expansion of existing businesses, recruit new businesses that pay higher wages than current city average, with particular emphasis given on the creation of primary jobs. And there's another slide coming up in the deck that will touch on that. Through zoning and other land use authority, expand the supply of both service and raw land suitable for commercial and industrial development. I would argue that updating the UDO is the first step and is catalytic to that, because we now have new design standards and development standards that will readily identify what is possible in Northglenn, whereas our old Euclidean zoning, while being at the last in the front range, was dated and did not foster the sort of engagement that we hope that we're doing now with the UDO process, with the new UDO in place. Other is invest in public infrastructure required to retrain and attract new industrial and commercial developments. A great example of this is the Huron Center. Europe put in, I believe, over $3.5 million in drainage improvements for something that was a regional issue, not just an on-site issue, which was integral to the success of that redevelopment of that site. Without it, that project doesn't happen. So once again, just want to kind of give you the history that strategically we're executing on these goals. And so when you think about moving forward, what is it that you like about that? What is it that you see as missing to sort of help fill in that gap that maybe we can work on as we move forward in the years to come? All right, moving on, enhance the appearance of the image of the city, adopt a high quality design and development standards. That's what we just did with UDO. And then here on 6B, leverage resources of NERA to enhance Berea. So yet again, this is that outreach to the property owners and everything else. So with this next slide, Debbie took a little bit deeper dive on this last policy statement, and really just to sort of emphasize the identify underperforming properties such as retail. And one of the things that I want to point out is back in 2015 through 16 with the fiscal capacity analysis and sustainability fiscal assessment, one of the things that we did through that exercise is we prioritized the 12 retail sites in the community and came up with a high, medium, and low. And based on that and some of the criteria was market support, council prioritization, development readiness, and development opportunity. When we did that, we created a map that shows everything that we were focusing on. And on the top, we had Civic Center, campus, Carl's Farm, Marketplace. The Huron Business District was the middle, 112th Avenue industrial area, which is where we did the stadium. And then the lower tier was Washington Corridor, Northglenn, Greens, and Hillcrest. You'll notice Huron Center and a couple of other properties aren't on this list because they were already in process at the time that we put this together. But as you can see, when we talk about deliverables and what we're doing on a staff level, is that we're going right down the list here. And right now we're working on the top three, which is Civic, Marketplace, and Carl's, as you all know. Okay. Next slide. Bear with me for a moment. Okay, here we go. So the next slide here is, these next two slides are taken from a recent presentation that you guys saw regarding the immediate areas surrounding the Civic campus. And so these are just some demographics specific to the to basically a concentric area of 1 mile, 3 mile, 5, of what the median household populations, age, household size, and whatnot. What I wanted to also point out here for the council is that citywide, so if you notice the median in 1 mile radius is $50,000 a year. Citywide, it's $64,237, and that's based on 2017 data. 11% of our population is below poverty. About 12.5% of our population is at this median income of 64,000 or slightly higher, because there's a range of how it's broken out with the state demographer's office. 39% of our population is above the median salary. And then the remainder, which is about 48%, and that includes the poverty, is below the median average. So just some interesting information there regarding this, because I think, you know, when we talk about the specifics of our surrounding area, I also just kind of want to give you the context of the big picture, which we'll be bringing a more exhaustive discussion forward in May on that when we talk about affordable attainable housing. So with that, this slide here is just really trying to represent the Civic Center and its surrounding competitors. And I think, once again, this kind of comes back to the second slide when we talk about leakage. And also the fiscal sustainability assessment talked about this as well, is that the disposable income of Northglenn residents, there's a statistically significant difference of how much money is not spent that otherwise is statistically spent in a community, because surrounding communities offer different amenities and services. And mind you, this effort was done back in 2015-16 using 2013-14 data. So things have obviously still emerged and changed, as we can see from our financial quarterly reports from Jason. That being said, this is really just sort of illustrative of the fact of what we're competing against with the surrounding area and why that leakage may be occurring. Interestingly, long range, one of the things that we've noted is that because we are already infill and because they're expecting a substantial amount of growth in the surrounding area, we can position ourselves to really capitalize on that with infill redevelopment opportunities, because then we will be a draw to this new population base that's coming down the road that needs other places than just that surrounding area, and hopefully capture that moving forward. All right, next slide here is a fun slide. So basically what this is really trying to say here is that we don't want to be a single source economy. As many of you know, we've heard time immemorial that we're a retail sales tax economy. And the next slide talks, this slide here talks a little bit about that. It's about 65% of our revenue is based on sales tax, which is a very interesting dynamic. However, one of the things that we can do to improve upon that is diversify our housing, the restaurant experience, stores and retail services, and city services. And it was funny, I asked Jason in the hallway, thinking I was gonna, trump Jason here on a good trivia question, so I'll ask you guys, what do you think is the #1 job employer type category in the city of Northglenn? Healthcare?
Fast food.
Fast food?
Home base.
No. Education.
Education.
The school district. It's about 44% of our workforce as of 2013. In 2013, retail trade was 13.8%. Healthcare was about 6.3%. However, with SCL, that's likely to come up. And also, as you know, there's new investments going on with commercial properties that will also likely change that moving forward in the future. Accommodation and food services is 8.2%. So it's very interesting that depending upon how you split retail trade and accommodation, because accommodation is also a hotel, when you add those two together, I mean, you're roughly talking about 22-23% of the workforce is responsible for about 2/3 of our revenue base, which is an interesting dynamic. But when we talk about diversifying and trying to figure out new ways to sort of be able to absorb the economic ups and downs so that we're more insulated, this is part of that strategy that we want to be thinking about moving forward. Okay. So what is a primary job? And I think, these are businesses, and by the way, the employment numbers, those aren't people that necessarily live in Northglenn, those are people that work in Northglenn. And we will be providing more data down the road about what that split looks like of who actually lives and works in the same community. Wasn't able to put that together tonight for the presentation, but that'll be another factor we'll talk about. I think one of the big things to take away from this slide is that these primary jobs are multipliers, and typically it's 3 to 8 times depending upon the job type. So for instance, if we have a metal fabrication company that builds back of house kitchen appliances and workspaces, which we do, they're one of the largest in Colorado. Those guys buy supplies from other companies to bring those raw materials as well as other finishes, and those are what we call multipliers. So in reality, a lot of our industrial and or wholesale trades are actually job multipliers. Now, those don't necessarily all occur in Northglenn, but there's opportunities to try to capture that. And so I think the other part here is that with SCL Hospital, the majority of those jobs are above our median income. I think I don't remember the numbers, but there was a significant, notable number of 6-figure incomes that would be at that particular facility. And those are the types of places and opportunities that we want to be looking forward to when we look at what our next infill opportunities may be. So something to keep in mind, because more disposable income means more money potentially being spent in the community that enables us to have, a better ability to provide local service. All right. And here is, once again, the city's bread and butter. It is the retail sales tax, and basically it's about 2/3 of the revenue that we get is out of this. So it's our living wage salaries, and it really does provide quite a bit of community support for us. And as you know, we have very largely successful with Webster Lake Promenade, and we're hopeful that in the near term we're going to see some dramatic changes over at Marketplace, Huron Center. As you can tell, we've done a lot of work. Also mentioned Alley Center, there's been a lot of effort into that. And so once again, I think as we move forward, all these properties have life cycles to them. The question is, how do we sync up with those life cycles and the ownership to figure out what the next plan is so that it's more seamless, as opposed to what we saw with the Huron Center, which clearly had a whole set of circumstances that most of which we couldn't control, but it sat there for way too long. And hopefully in the future we'll be a lot more strategic in how we approach that. And with that, I will hand it over to Jason. Any questions on any of the background?
Good evening. Thanks, Mayor and Council, for having us tonight. I'm going to jump into tax information, which is the most exciting part of the presentation, of course. Let's go back here. There's a slide just kind of our basic understanding of tax structure. Sales and use tax actually is 8.75%. We'll see below the breakout, what's going to the state, RTD, county, so on and so forth, and blends general fund of 3%, and restriction for water, which is 1%. Put a note on there regarding the food for home consumption tax. When we talk about economic incentives and grocery stores and things like that, that 3% tax comes into play with our sales tax sharing. It's not available as restricted use. So we talk in different environments, I guess, of is a grocery store going to come here and how can we help them on a sales tax sharing environment? We're restricted with that revenue to not be able to show that back. Other taxes in the community, the marijuana tax, admission tax, accommodations tax. You can see the breakout here. Part of that goes to the diversification that Brooke was talking about earlier with, majority of municipalities receive money from sales and use tax, and having diverse opportunities to receive that is kind of what I had mentioned before, the importance of that. The revenue streams not going to come in bulk from different types of things other than sales and use, but when you have combinations of emissions, marijuana, food-grown consumption, that's a good way to diversify that income stream. And then overall, where do taxes come from? Sales tax is a large component of the sales tax that the city receives, 70% in fact, which that equates to about $18 million. That total tax number was about $24 million. I guess this is kind of come first. Taxes make up 75% of where our operating dollars come from, so that's general revenues that really come into the city. 75% of that, and then the breakdown of the actual sales tax, 7%. Property tax about 13%. That's $4 million to the city. You see the rest of the breakdown there. So kind of the tax structure lays ground to some of the economic incentives and tools that are available. There's a wide variety that we're going to cover now. We'll tie it back to the sales tax as we go through. The city and NERA have a set of flow chart, I guess, that we're taking a look at here. That really identifies we're starting with developer development and their request and application process and the way that flows. And that's through the city, that's through NERA, that can be through sales tax sharing, which we talked about, that can be through waived fees for different projects. That can be assistance with signs and other tangible things that businesses get started. Racetracks is another example. So city incentives, we're going to talk about the SNEP, or the Enhanced Sales Tax Improvement Program. The BIZ, that's the fee waivers, abatements of taxes, potentially, or stormwater fees, water connection fees, that type of thing. Public improvement fees, that's really on the private development side. They're able to, Webster Lake, for instance, have a 0.5% public improvement fee charge on that development that helps them pay for maintaining infrastructure and roadways for their property. Other incentives are ways that we can assist purchasing properties, providing properties at discounted prices that we have access to, and then other business incentive programs. I think I've heard this. I'm not in this world, so I just hear about it from developers and other people about streamlined development processes and entitlements. And then Northglenn does a really good job kind of getting developments through the door, I guess, and through the process of through Brooks Group.
I hate him to say that, but
it's not as easy in other communities, and I've heard that not paid for by the book. And then the digital advertising board that we have on I-25, that's provided at a very discounted rate, $450 a month, for something that's normally costing us about $3,000. We're able to provide through relationships that we have with the sign company, access to those things. So wayfinding, again, we have some opportunities to provide assistance there. So that's on the city side. On the urban renewal side, talk about tax increment financing and what that money can be used for. Infrastructure and public improvements really is kind of the number one thing that's used for. Environmental remediation, consulting professional services really to analyze what type of infrastructure improvements are going to need to be done, and then purchasing properties as well. Through NERA, they can issue debt, revenue bonds specifically, based off of the tax and financing revenues that they're receiving. And they would use that to fund infrastructure, public improvements, or property purchases. And then also grants, we hear about business improvement grants, business utility grants. That's NERA provides on a pretty regular basis. So where can NERA reinvest its dollars? You'll see here 85% of commercial property is located in an urban rural area in the city of Northglenn. The red and orange areas are a part of URA Plan 1. Those began, as you can see, in 1992 and 2011. And then the yellow, green, and blue are all considered URA Plan 2. So we'll say any tax increment finance or dollars that are being generated in either URA plan area can be reinvested in that plan area. So increment that's being generated in yellow could be spent and reinvested in the blue area. So any questions on reinvesting in the URA dollars? How the TIF is calculated, like I said, it's the incremental revenue that's being generated because of a project. So, for instance, if you got a tax base of $0, we'll take the hospital property for an example, that was owned by the city. Private company comes in and purchases that property. It's a $25 million project on it. The tax base began at 0. So any incremental revenue that's generated from that property that goes to the URA. So we don't need to get into a ton of detail on the increment, but just knowing that it's incrementally from the value of the property. The other example that I would use is the Huron Center. Large project, significant investment. It already had a pretty high base because it was a taxable piece of property. So we invested $13 million. Well, the incremental revenue, property tax from that is not that additional $13 million. It's how did the value of that property change by the investment of the $13 million? And it's not dollar for dollar, that's for sure. So we're going to go through kind of a recap or history, I guess, of NERA's investments. In 2018, 16 business grants and incentives totaling $1.7 million were invested by NERA. This leveraged over $12 million of private development that otherwise may not have happened in the community. Reinvestments since 1995, you'll see 42% of that has been in business incentives, 37% has been property preparation and land acquisition. So URA reinvesting those incremental dollars back into the community is very important, as you see different projects displayed on this page, on this slide, going back to Best Buy, Marketplace, Huron Center, Webster Lake. Other financing tools that are mentioned in the economic development world, there's a lot of coordination amongst jurisdictions and the counties and the states to make sure that business owners are getting the opportunity to learn about what Adams County has to offer. They have a microloan program of up to $50,000. And then state incentives as well through enterprise zones and job training programs as well. On the federal side, again, there's a lot of different resources through housing and urban development, Department of Agriculture, where there's opportunities, where all of these incentives, I guess, if you will, and assistance for financing. This is part of kind of our day-to-day operations, if you will, of trying to help businesses out as they're looking to come into the community. So the next slide, I think this was a big segue for Debbie. Just talking about deals and how they take vision, patience, take a little bit of risk. The one thing that stood out on this slide to me was every deal is different. There's not a one-size-fits-all development where you can say, these are the tools that should be used, and that's going to translate to 1 to 2 years from now. The exact same tools to be used. In the evaluation process, different tools. We'll talk about performance, market analysis, gap analysis, and then how do we measure, what the developer brings forward as far as their plan, their vision for projects. What are we going to measure those against? So we're going to look at things like job creation. Is a part of what the community envisions for itself. Are there other economic benefits that maybe aren't as tangible? They eliminate blight, which is really enhance and improve the community. So there's many evaluation tools, and there's many ways to measure success in a project. So city NERA developer deal is kind of a private investments that we've made over the years. The next few slides just kind of recaps of past deals. The marketplace, the first marketplace deal, rated #1, according to the slide. Incentive-wise, you can see just a variety of incentives to help develop that project. You'll see the return of that project from 2018 was over $78 million in retail tax. Created new jobs, eliminated blight. You can see there, and the city, there's kind of a combination of both to make that work deal happen. Webster Lake, again, incentives. We talked about opportunity to assess with land, the incentive from the city, which has been met a few years early from what the initial incentive was, and the infrastructure that was paid for by NERA for roadway improvements and drainage and water and sewer. Again, return on investment, eliminate a lot of blight, thriving center. NERA specific deals, the Garland Center, again, it required assembling the property from multiple owners, some environmental cleanup assistance. Those are things that the development community, the financing community, nobody wants to invest in those types of things when they need to get borrow money. If I'm a bank, I don't necessarily want to loan you money to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, to find out what kind of environmental issues you have on the property. That's just going to be a segment of the bigger loan that we're going to do as a financing. So that's where we can come in as an urban renewal area and help the developer out on that. Here on the center, again, property purchase to some portion of the property, total investment for infrastructure, and then the total investment from the developers of over $13.5 million. Really made that site one definitely be proud of and been empty for quite a while. And then the last deal, economic incentive, the marketplace. It's an $8 million incentive over multiple years with a $75 million investment from the developer to retain tenants, to really, again, increase sales tax recognition tax, and we're really excited to see where that goes. If you have questions for us, we would love to take them right now.
I have a question. For the Marketplace number 2 deal, what is the timeline on that again, or what is the status of that project? I forgot what's that now.
So I don't know that we're talking about the status of the Marketplace project right now. We are not talking about the status of that, correct?
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
Any other questions?
To the, where do our taxes come from, that slide with the pie? What is the specific ownership tax?
A specific ownership tax, so that, for our purposes, we have that broken down, vehicle specific ownership tax.
And the building material use tax?
Yeah, so that's kind of as it's described. So the use tax on building materials that are being brought into the city for construction.
So the person bringing it pays that tax.
Yeah. So the contractor typically will go in and have not pay any tax where they're making the purchase when they bring it.
Okay. One more, the use tax. What is the use tax?
Go ahead.
Well, yes, after having a business, finding out what use tax is, all the materials that you use, I shouldn't say all the materials, that don't go to a finished product. If we have a sign company, if we use wood and vinyl to make a sign, that doesn't require a use tax. But any of our, oh my gosh, paper, computers, equipment, we do have to pay.
Yeah, so it's for the materials that are used in a business that are not part of the building construction piece. So when the hospital orders in some awesome equipment, not having to pay tax on that until they bring it into the community that they're using it in. And so they're paying tax on the use of that project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just strikes a nerve.
So if I may, I think one thing I just want to talk about a little bit with all of these deals, these are all infill redevelopment projects, and challenges that we have being basically 99% built out is that when you compare an infill redevelopment project versus what we call greenfield in another community, the challenges and the costs are usually more expensive on an infill than a greenfield project. So that's why you sort of see this leveraging of incentives in order to bring a deal to the table. Because in essence, as like with the Garland, the environmental cleanup, that's a non-starter. I can go over to this undeveloped piece of land. I know it doesn't have a former dry cleaner on it or a gas station. I don't have to think about that. That's a cost I don't have to factor into it. And so by and large, that's why every deal is different, is because each of these properties has a legacy to it. Some of these buildings are old enough to where they may have asbestos mitigation, and that adds additional costs. These are all the types of things that through ED we look at when we're trying to figure out our competitive advantage. Say with like the end user with SCL, they were shopping 6 other locations within a 3-mile radius of us, and so once again, it's how we use our incentives to position ourselves to secure those types of projects. So I just wanted to mention that because we are at a sort of a market disadvantage when it comes to bringing someone to the table, because these properties have issues with them that we need to address.
Does council have any other questions for staff? Heather, do you want to add anything at the end, or?
I would just add that if you have questions moving forward, if you think of something later on this week, or again, in future weeks, just reach out to us and let us know. And if you feel like there's a need for a second version of this work session, we're happy to pull that together for you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are adjourned from study session. I would like to call our March 25th City Council session to order. Joanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Dodge.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Escabel.
Here.
Councilmember Sowers is absent. Councilmember Lighty.
Here.
Councilmember Downing.
Here.
Councilmember Brown. Here somewhere. Councilmember Whitman. Here. Councilmember Duran-Olica. Here. Councilmember Wilford.
Here. Thank you. Would you stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather, is there any response to citizen inquiry this evening?
Yes, Mayor Dodge, just a quick update on the progress that we're making with Northglenn High School and the adjacent residential neighborhoods. Since I last reported this information to council, we've received 9 phone calls that were forwarded to Officer Scadam and Chief May, along with 8 emails with information sent over to Officer Scadam and Chief May. I believe it's spring break this week, so we're anticipating it being a little bit quieter. But my understanding is that we've made progress with getting students to park in the parking lot. And so I need to follow up with the principal, Sherry Blunt, as well as Pat Hamilton, and get a feel for their next steps in terms of talking about the district policy change and opening up the lot. So that's the progress we've made today, and we'll just continue to be proactive about responding to the complaints that we get. Does anyone have questions to cover? All right. Are there any agenda additions or deletions from council? Seeing none, we will move forward into proclamations this evening. We have a really great evening of proclamations. So I would like to ask the council to join me for all of these. The first being honoring Sam Mamet on 40 years of service to the CML. I'm loud. Well, you have to come up too. He needs an invitation.
Okay.
All right. We are going to begin by reading the proclamation. Whereas Sam Mamet is retiring after 40 years with the Colorado Municipal League, and whereas during this remarkable tenure, Sam has exhibited unwavering dedication in serving 270 municipalities and hundreds of elected officials throughout Colorado. And whereas Sam has led CML as the executive director for the last 14 years and has displayed the highest example of integrity, dedication, tenacity, and professionalism. And whereas Sam has received numerous awards throughout his career, both in Colorado and nationally, recognizing his contributions to public service, his excellence as a municipal league staff member, and his distinguished service to other agencies and organizations. And whereas in addition to lobbying for municipal interests and providing resources, advice, and camaraderie to elected officials, Sam has also provided support and wisdom to local government staff. And whereas Sam has worked tirelessly to advance CML's mission and is a true champion of protecting local control. Whereas we are grateful for Sam's efforts to leave local decisions in the hands of local elected officials and to improve the quality of life in local communities. Now therefore I, Carol Dodge, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, do hereby proclaim our sincerest appreciation to Sam Mamet for his many years of service to the Colorado Municipal League, the City of Northglenn, and to the many municipalities across the great state of Colorado. We recognize his exceptional leadership and dedication and wish him the very best in retirement. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 25th day of March 2019.
Oh, that's very cool.
Before I give you the floor, I wanted to add this because today Sam wrote his final blog, or his final blog was published. And I think it speaks more to the person than, even though the proclamation is wonderful and it says what he does, this kind of says more about the man that he is. We are talking about his secret to his 40 years serving the CML. I'll tell you the secret. I have been here so long because I am madly in love with my wonderful spouse of nearly 28 years, Judith, our 2 sons, Elliot and Abe, of whom a dad could never be more proud, my beloved staff colleagues, both past and current, great CML executive boards, and a tremendous membership of true leaders. But mostly, I'm deeply in love with our dear and precious Colorado. I have traversed every square inch of this state, corner to corner, town to town, city to city, so many times that I bet I could do it blindfolded. I have been in every fire station, coffee shop, town hall, sewer plant, and rec center. I've driven slowly and cautiously through every speed trap you can imagine. Never ever did I run a photo red. Well, maybe once. I love the Western Slope, High Plains, Lower Arkansas Valley, San Luis Valley, Four Corners, Front Range, Southern Colorado. You name the spot in Colorado, I love it. Every community in our state exudes a positive and can-do attitude. You lead through problem solving. You see every challenge as an opportunity. Partnerships abound among and between local governments as well as with the state and national government. You do not live on islands. You get out and about to see what is going on around you. CML is your home away from home. Every time I have visited one of our 270 members, I have never once felt I was a guest, but a member of the family. How blessed I am to have had this marvelous career at CML. So many nice things have been said about me over the past few weeks. It is humbling and deeply appreciated. But the true accolades belong to each of you. The work you do on a daily basis reinforces my core belief that public service is indeed the highest calling. It has been almost exactly 6 years since I wrote my first blog for CML, and now here is my last. I do not want to say goodbye, so for now, I will just say that I hope to see you down the road. I wish you good health, personal and professional fulfillment, and only good memories. I thought that was so awesome.
Well, thank you, Carol. Well, I'm deeply honored to receive this, not only from a great group whose leadership I admire very much. Carol Dodge has been past president of the municipal league, and our roots run very, very deep in this city. You have an amazing staff. You have an amazing community of informed and active citizens. And this is really special tonight because I'm with one of my heroes over here, Mr. Former Mayor Odell Barry, because we would not be in our Colorado Municipal League building if it wasn't for that man over there who really worked hard to help us, and he deserves a round of applause. And in his honor, we always have to say, go Broncos. That goes without saying. But I love Odell, and he was a great leader in our organization of years gone by, and we're going to get together with Boucher, and we'll have a lot of fun. Odell, it's so wonderful to see you and with your great family and Glenda and your wonderful granddaughters. And I know many more things will be said about you. So I heard the late President Bush in an interview recently, and he said that his family felt that serving the public service was a noble cause. And that comment really struck me because it's very true. All of you are shining examples of that. Your wonderful staff, the great citizens in Northglenn, you all represent the very best in public service and making this community a great place in which to live. And so I'm honored to receive this. I salute each of you so very much for who you are, great friends. We'll be friends for life, and we'll see you down the road. But don't go through any speed traps. Thank you all very much. Carol, thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Dig out of there to you.
Oh, okay. Can I just walk in with it and have the mayor sent me?
And a couple of cards.
Oh, you guys are terrific. Well, I love you all. Thank you very much.
And I just want to say you're such a special friend, and great mentor.
I feel
loved
the way.
every minute serving on that
Well,
board.
we appreciate your leadership too. Thank you all very much.
Should we take a picture?
Oh, yes.
That'd be great.
Should
Can I
I?
do one along with him? Because, you know, I want my moment. I just-
Very good. Okay, one more. And then, all right, now let's get one here. I'll hold up the proclamation. How's that? I'll hold up the plaque. Yes, I will. Okay. Great to see you. Antonio, thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you. Good to see you. Great to see you. All right, you bet. Nice to see you. Thank you all. Great to see you. Okay. Okay, thank
Get all your
you.
swag.
Thank you,
All right,
thank you,
sir,
thank
we
you.
will see you soon.
Okay, thanks.
You will be at the conference,
I'll be
correct?
in the conference in June.
All right,
Yes,
good.
I will.
Good.
Oh, I love your city manager. I love the city manager.
We know, you tell us all the time. We love her too. All right. So this year, in honor of our 50th anniversary, we have implemented a new program called our Resident Recognition Program. And this evening, we have 2 recipients of this award. We are first going to honor Dr. Darwin Strickland. Would you like to come up, sir?
My wife doesn't come with me. We've
Of
been
course.
married 64 years.
Then that counts for sure. 64 years, wow.
Yeah, this fall, 64 years.
You're not even 64 years old.
My gosh, I have been for that.
That's what I was going for. All right. First I'll read the proclamation.
Okay,
Thank you.
I didn't know I was going to say a few words, but that's
Oh,
fine.
we would love it if you would.
This is setting, I need Yeah, I can't see you, it's all.
You can't see
technical
me?
difficulty, but I'll take pictures with my camera.
Would you do that?
Yeah. I'll do
But maybe give that to the guru over there. He may know how to use it.
All right. Whereas the city of Northglenn celebrates its 50th anniversary in 2019, and whereas the city is celebrating residents whose lives and deeds have positively affected the city and the lives of others, and whereas Dr. Darwin J. Strickland has volunteered as the Northglenn High School football team physician since 1967, and whereas Dr. Strickland has donated his services to youth who could not afford health care in our community, and whereas Dr. Strickland has purchased scoreboards and coordinated and directed free physicals for student athletes, and whereas Dr. Strickland has dedicated life and work to the health and well-being of the youth in Northglenn, and whereas Dr. Strickland has gone above and beyond to make a difference in his community and has inspired others to give back, and whereas Dr. Darwin J. Strickland leaves a legacy of public service. Now, therefore, I, Carol Dodge, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, hereby congratulate Dr. Darwin J. Strickland for being honored by fellow residents, City Council, and myself for his significant contributions to the City of Northglenn. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 25th day of March 2019. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
All right. What can you share with us about your legacy? What's your legacy? That's a pretty good legacy.
It is a good legacy, and I certainly have enjoyed Northglenn. And I knew Odell when he became the mayor here. He and Don Mays, who followed him. And I've known a lot of wonderful people. He had a wonderful athlete that went to Northglenn. I often got after him because he did send his other son, Jay, to our school, Northglenn, but that's all right. But I've always rooted for Northglenn in anything that they've ever been involved with. And years ago, we used to plummet Cherry Creek years ago. We were tough, but now things have sort of changed, but not with my enthusiasm for Northglenn. And I'm very happy I came tonight. I almost didn't come because I was going up to see you to see Colorado play tonight. I'm all excited about them going into the next bracket. I'm sure Norfolk State will not be too tough for them. So, but, and I remember you very well because you came to the school board meetings and such, and your husband in the sign business, and so I know almost everyone around here very well. Been here a long time. Good gosh. I remember the first attorneys they had here in this city. Boy, some of them were pretty tough too.
Are you in the original house that you bought here in Northglenn?
No, we were 72. We moved in this other house, but we lived right down the street prior to that in the Hallcraft townhouses. So. But it's been a wonderful ride, and I certainly enjoyed Northglenn, and I've been so happy that Northglenn's done so well. I really have. And there isn't a better PR person for Northglenn in a crowd or in any place that you go. I'm sure Odell's the same way. I really stick up for Northglenn no matter where I'm at. I certainly enjoy it. And my wife's been good. 64 years she's put up with me, and I had a very long practice. I wouldn't get home till about 10:30 or 11 o'clock every night, and she'd stay up for me. She'd stay up and visit with me for a while before she went to bed. Now she doesn't. She just goes to bed on me. I stay up and watch television and everything. So I can't get used to the changes in my routine, so I'm still a night owl. So that's our life. We have 4 wonderful children. 3 of them have been here, born in the area here. The first one was born in Kansas City, but we've really enjoyed. And the people have been wonderful to me. Wonderful. Everyone that I've known in this Thornton, Northglenn, Westminster area has been super classical for me in every way. Especially. So that's all right.
Well, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
And would you like to take a photo with all the council?
I certainly would. Yes, that'd be nice. That'd be very nice to get here with Antonio. Antonio's very nice, Joe. Yes.
Best man on the council.
My wife's only shy here, not at home.
I think you owe her a better adjective than good.
We would take customers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so nice to see you.
Oh, you're sick?
Yeah, we have a doctor in the house.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for everything you've done for Northglenn. All right, our next resident being recognized this evening is Mr. Odell Berry. Come on down. Bring everybody. Yeah. Come on, pretty girls. Come on up here.
Team effort, right, Odell?
Hi. I'm here. Hello, everybody. What are your names? We don't know your name.
Alexis.
Alexis?
London.
And London. Thanks for coming. Is he your grandpa?
Yes.
What do you call him?
Granddad.
Granddad. Nice. Well, we're going to read a little bit about Granddad. How's that sound? Whereas the city of Northglenn celebrates its 50th anniversary in 2019, and whereas the city is celebrating residents whose contributions have positively affected the city and the lives of others, and whereas Odell Berry served as the mayor of the city of Northglenn from 1980 to 1982, being the first black mayor to be elected in a major city in Colorado. And whereas Odell has contributed to the civic, cultural, and economic vitality of the city of Northglenn, and whereas Odell committed his time and energy to the youth of Northglenn through running a Little League football camp, and whereas serving as the first black person to be chosen as president of the Colorado Civic Defense Association, and as a delegate to the Democratic National Convention in 1980, Odell raised the national profile of Northglenn. And whereas Odell has gone above and beyond to make a difference in his community and has inspired others to give back. And whereas Odell Berry leaves a legacy of public service. Now therefore I, Carol Dodge, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, hereby congratulate Mr. Odell Berry for being honored by fellow residents, City Council, and myself for his significant contributions to the City of Northglenn. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 25th day of March 2019.
Very good.
I'm not a good public speaker, so I don't like to.
Yes, he is.
But let me say this. This was unbelievable experience that I'm having tonight. Far exceed any other experiences I've had. To be recognized with this lovely lady of 52 years. I can't catch it. But I would like to say to all of you, this is my granddaughter, London.
Hi.
And this is my granddaughter, Alexis.
Hi.
And they decided they wanted to be here today, to be up next to me, closest you possibly can. But I have a little thing I always used to say when I was mayor. I used to...
Before you go there, your son down the line.
Oh, special guest. Come on up.
We'll let you finish. Keep on going.
Okay.
Keep doing such a good job.
But more important than anything else, Sam and I go back a lot of years. And I'm going to tell you something. That was really nice. And I got to tell you this, that you didn't say about Mr. Strickland. Is that whenever we needed $5 to $100 or $500 for the football program or whatever program we were doing, we called him, he always just said yes. Just yes. And I just want to say, it's so nice to see you here today and see you get this award. And I know that that lady sitting next to you is responsible for a lot of the good deeds that you've done.
For sure.
But I just find myself speechless because, you know, when you get this age, I'm 75 years of age now. And when I was the youngest councilman back there in the day, I was like 20-something years of age, and I enjoyed this city. This is the greatest city in this nation. And I'm gonna tell you something. People don't know this, but I had the Black Mayor's Conference here. Brought over 200 of them here in Northglenn, Colorado, staying at the Holiday Inn. And they're still talking about it, even in their sleep. But I just want you to know that it's because of the people of Northglenn that I am who I am, what I am, etc. And I am only one with one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And what I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, I shall do. And that is, to the best of my ability, in this great city of Northglenn. Thank you very much. And that's all for me.
Introduce your other guests and bring them up here.
Oh, Lord.
The whole family up here. Well, not the whole family.
Well, we're missing one.
Yeah.
This is my son, David Berry.
He's the Northglenn one.
He went to North. But Damon was All-American at Northglenn High School. And has made me proud. He's nationally known. He's a lawyer at a prestigious law firm downtown. I guess that's what they call it. Oh, the granddaughter told me it's Ballard Spa. But anyway, I just want to say to the people that put this together, this is really nice. I mean, I haven't had any. I've had a lot of experiences, but this was nice touch, and I just want to say thank you. And I know my wife, you like to talk. So.
No, I don't. For those of you who know me, know that I'm the quiet one. I would also like to say thank you, though, because this is very special for Odell. It's very special for us as a family. And, you know, we go way back. As today, I brought my grandchildren up here to see where their granddad sat as the mayor. So maybe the mayor today will let them take a picture with you so they can have that. So, okay, thank you. I don't talk very much. Thank you very much.
Hey, I have one thing I need to say. Sam up here, he talked about Colorado Municipal League. And there was a gentleman from Louisville. I think his name was Early, Leon Early. He was mayor. You guys can look that up, yo. But he was with me when we were doing the site selection for the municipal league. And when we found it, we had 100% approval, 100% approval from the people around the state saying, hey, we like that. You know, and it ended up being right downtown Denver. So I was really pleased that he remembered that. But Sam's a superhuman being, though. You guys all know that. He is one superhuman being. And that's
Now, who's the talker?
Well, would you guys join us for a photo this evening? All of you?
Sure.
Only me and that.
Two will make us stand together.
That's what
I'm going to stay here.
Back up a little bit.
Here, can you do that? Wait, show
This way?
We're currently.
Oh.
Right here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How are you? Good to see you. Were you here when I said you were sick? I missed that. I did. Congratulations.
Dr. Strickland, we want to get one more photo with you and Odell.
You and Odell, can you come?
We want to get a photo with you and Odell. Would you mind coming up one more time? Thank you. Odell, we're going to take a picture with Dr. Strickland with all of us. You want all of us or just us? You don't need us. They need to rearrange.
Wherever you guys want.
And Sam.
Sam's gone.
Oh, he's gone.
He had to go to Westminster for more accolades this evening.
Let's have everybody.
All right.
We got to get pictures from the city.
Here, can I snap me?
And that's my daughter-in-law, Heather. Get out of here.
Thank you.
Don't forget your. Somebody that's good. No, we're going to take it.
Did you thank him?
We're going to do it on the door. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. No, seriously, go. Maybe you can get on one side of your hand. Grandpa, and you just sit here. Sit right here. How's that? Yeah.
I mean that. You guys go see the bus going over there.
He dropped his tickets for the first time in 51 years.
For the football game, yeah, because I almost fell when I was over there and I decided that's all I need to do. Hold and that's it.
That's right.
Is Deborah going to go home with us? She's not going to hang out.
You're going to be here late.
We haven't averaged early recently.
Those ladies like to talk, don't they?
Really good at
Okay,
got this one safe.
It's good to see you. Congratulations.
It's really good to see you both.
Not feeling good.
Not really.
I've been there already this season.
You got a wonderful husband.
I do.
And he was one of the best things we ever had. I
like to hear that.
Anyway, Antonio won't eat it all.
You've got some good things coming.
I do, I'm excited. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You're my favorite.
One more. So I would love to add, even though Odell really expressed what a great program this is, but what a great program this is. Thank you. I'm not even sure where it came from, but I love it, and I'm going to enjoy doing this every time we have a meeting, because you guys, the residents, are what make this city great, and just listening to your stories was really wonderful tonight, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have one last proclamation this evening, and we have Isan Riahi here this evening. He is the Community Outreach Coordinator with the North Denver Islamic Center. We have a proclamation this evening to pay our respects to the people who lost their lives in the terrorist attack on Christchurch in New Zealand. Whereas Christchurch, New Zealand is a vibrant, energetic city where urban regeneration, creativity, and innovation thrive. And whereas on March 15th, 2019, Christchurch experienced a horrific terrorist attack on 2 mosques, leaving 50 people wounded and 50 people dead in an act of hatred and intolerance. And whereas in solidarity with Christchurch, the City of Northglenn wishes to express our condolences to the families of those who lost loved ones in this tragedy and support for those who were affected by the attacks. And whereas Northglenn condemns hatred and violence in all its forms. And whereas Northglenn is home to the North Denver Islamic Center, Masjid Ikhlas, is that good?
Yeah.
A center for religious development, social, educational, economic, and cultural enrichment. And whereas Masjid Ikhlas is a community partner, and whereas people from diverse backgrounds are the foundation of our city. And whereas Northglenn stands behind its commitment to be a welcoming and inclusive city. And whereas on Friday, March 22nd, 2019, Christchurch observed 2 minutes of silence across New Zealand to pay respect to those lives lost. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council desire to express our support to the Christchurch community by sharing in 2 minutes of silence, demonstrating Northglenn as a strong and inclusive community, accepting of all those that have chosen to call our city home. We would have 2 minutes. Join me, please, in 2 minutes of silence. Thank you, everyone. I am presenting the proclamation this evening to Eastside.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. First of all, I want to thank Northglenn City, Madam Mayor, Chief May, fine ladies and gentlemen, Councilman and Mayor, for your support, but also for your leadership in connecting the residents of Northglenn with the city of Northglenn. This means a lot to us as Muslims, part of this beautiful city, and on behalf of the Muslim community in Northglenn, on behalf of Masjid Ikhlas, I say peace be with you. My God protect you. My God Almighty protect our city, our state, our country, and every single country on this planet from the horrific terrorist attack happened in New Zealand. And again, I don't know what to say. It just this means a lot to us, and we thank you very much for your support, for your thought and prayers. and I see a lot of familiar faces here, so it's good to see you again. And if anything, it just shows that I was talking earlier to Chief about the fact that sometimes when you have a small city like Northglenn, you get to have less bureaucracy. It's like an organic city, so to speak. So everything is not fake, everything is from the heart, people reaching out to one another. And before I forget, I really want to thank the residents of Northglenn. If I can tell you how many flowers we got in the past few days, and how many cards, we could make a business out of it and make some money. But I want to thank the resident of Northglenn as well, and that's all I got to say. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you as a partner.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Somebody in your church that actually is a resident of Northglenn that you could nominate for one of our resident recognition
I actually
awards?
can.
That would
Yes.
be great. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have we belong to the city, and about, I'll say, 90% of people who come to our mosque are from Northglenn. So
Yeah, I'm sure you've got somebody great in there that deserves some recognition. So.
definitely,
All right.
definitely. That's very nice. Absolutely.
Thank you for joining
You're
us
very
this
welcome.
evening. Would you like to take a photo with all of us also?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your thought. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much for your thought. I appreciate it.
And that, my friends, is what this city is all about. That was amazing, awesome. I can't say enough about how wonderful that was this evening. I want to thank everybody who came this evening, and our residents are just amazing. So it's a great community, and that really shows through this type of presentation. So thank you again. Okay, we will move to public invited to be heard. 5 minutes per speaker. Statements shall be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Is there anyone who would like to come forward this evening? Seeing no one come forward, we will move to the Legislative Policy Committee update, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we met this evening and discussed all newly introduced bills and decided that there was only one that we would take a position on, and that was House Bill 19-1235. That's the limit encryption of dispatch radio communications. And that's all for us.
What was the position there?
Oh, I'm sorry, we took a close position. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for the Legislative Committee? No? Okay. We will move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? To amend the open the vote, please.
The vote is open.
So I'll just say yes, because I really
No,
have
I am the same. I don't know what I was doing.
That's fine what I did, so.
How do you bring it up easily, Marcy? You know. It's at the bottom. Which one? This one? Okay, got it. all this time. That's because I always have that when they're open, okay? I've never done that before, right?
Okay. I'll close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, our next item this evening is ordinances first reading. Joanna, would you read the title, please?
This is for CB 1924, a bill for a special ordinance granting a sales tax credit in the amount of 2.25% and an accommodations tax credit in the amount of 3.75% to the extent that certain public improvement fees are imposed and collected.
Heather?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. We do not have any formal staff presentation for this item this evening because it is on first reading. This item will come forward on second reading on April 8th.
Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open. I'll close that vote, and CB 1924 on first reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to discussion items this evening. The first being the Civic Center Master Plan Phase 1 implementation, March update. And good evening, Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I came up quick tonight. So I have a fairly brief update for you because we've had several conversations since the last update in January. But I wanted to just share with you some of the major milestones that we've hit since that last update. So at the end of February, we received the schematic design package as scheduled from the design team, as you all were able to see. Was that a whole week ago? I think that was last Monday. In the meantime, we've also been presenting that same schematic design package to our boards and commissions that are related to either the department or the project. So we've presented it to the Northglenn Urban Renewal Authority, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, the Youth Commission. We are scheduled to present that to the Arts and Communities Foundation at their next meeting as well. I've also been presenting it to staff groups, so I should have it memorized by now. I think I've run through it about 8 times at this point, but really trying to work with each of our individual staff groups so that they have the opportunity to ask questions in a small group setting and really focus on the areas that most impact them in the project. Along with that, having that SD package in hand, we have also, as of several weeks ago, officially hired FCI Constructors as our CMGC for the project. Since they are now on board, they are doing their part with the review as well. They are currently working on their initial guaranteed maximum price, which is scheduled to be delivered to us on April 4th. Once we have staff review, FCI's initial guaranteed maximum price, we will move into the design development phase of the project. We have those workshops scheduled throughout the summer, or I should say late spring and early summer, with our staff team and with each of the consultant teams that are a part of the project, including FCI from this point forward. What else do I have for you? A couple other items. We will be, as we mentioned last week, we're going to be doing some outreach here to the public during that design development phase. We'll definitely let you know as we have those timelines more defined. And the last thing I wanted to share with you was that we have had one adjustment to, or one use of the contingency. It was a planned use. So we do have an audiovisual design addition to the budget. It's within the contingency amount. That was originally presented to us as an ad alternate because we didn't know exactly what the scope of that would be until we got a little further into the design process. So that's in the amount of $35,725 out of the $100,000 contingency that we have for design. I don't have anything else that I'm anticipating design-wise to impact that contingency at this stage. With that, I'd be happy to open it up for questions.
Do you have any questions for Amanda this evening? It's exciting that FCI is the contractor.
Yes, we are happy to be moving forward with them. Like I mentioned last week, we had 3 very qualified firms who competed for that, and they really showed us through the written proposal process as well as the interview process that they were the right team for us to select for this project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Our next discussion item this evening is the 2020 budget calendar with Jason.
This is part of our annual process of preparing the budget is to present the proposed draft calendar to council. It's an opportunity for you guys to all mark your calendars. There's been a couple of dates that are a little different this year. On the second page of the document, there's April 1st, May 6th, and May 20th. Those would be planning sessions that are really going to help drive the budget that is brought forward early in August. So those are some key dates for council, and yeah, proposed budget come forward on August 5th for discussion. August 19th, departments will present to council. Then September 9th will come forward with a recommended budget, feedback, any adjustments that we need to after our original presentations. And we plan to adopt the budgets on October 28th it's already the 2020 budget. So, anybody have any questions or concerns about the timeline and really the adoption is kind of the final step. A whole lot of work in between now and then.
Any questions, Jason?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Our next item this evening is the updated 50th anniversary celebration plans and budget with Heather Brady. Heather?
Good evening.
Mayor Dodge and members of council, this evening Heather is going to present the revisited 50th anniversary plan. As you know, we're in a transition with our communications team, and so part of what I asked Heather to do when she came on board, it's been about a month now that you've been on board, is to look at all of the activities planned and assess our ability to execute on those plans, what additional things can we do, and make sure we're on the right track moving forward. So she's going to walk through the plans. I think you're going to see a lot more detail tonight. You're going to see some new things. Overall, we'd like your feedback and consensus on moving forward with the plan that she'll present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's nice to be here to be presenting this updated revised plan to you. Some of the elements are staying probably similar to what you had heard before or heard pieces of before. So I'll walk through it. We can give more detail for Q&A if you'd like as we have that. So in looking through and reviewing everything that existed and looking at the direction that I had seen prior to my arrival, there are 4 guiding principles that we kind of looked at as a committee and as a communications division to evaluate everything. I guess kind of the lens through which we looked at it. 1 was definitely celebrate Northglenn. 2, help Northglenn shine internally and to external audiences. Tap into existing events and be mindful of budget in that, but add a splash element that celebrates the 50th as a unique element to those events that are existing. And then finally, incorporate as many members of the community as possible through as many events as possible. So that was kind of our starting point for all of this. And in that, in reviewing those things, we were looking to see if we had accomplished all of those things with what was there, looking at expanding some of the elements and creating one particularly new element and one slide item. There is an additional budget request if we do move forward with these things, which you can see in the memo and we can talk about in more detail later. And some of that involves options that are presented throughout the memo as well, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So the first thing of the 4 that would expand the budget is consideration of expansion of the banner program that had previously been discussed. With the budget that we had allocated toward that in the detail, it allowed for 35 banners throughout the city. What we're looking to do in looking at actual street locations and where those banners would go on the light poles, in order to make a larger splash, the request would be to double that to 70, if we could. So the idea, and you can see in we'll get to that in a second, sorry. The second one was the purchase of lapel pins, which I had seen requested by a number of folks, or to think about by a number of folks. That would be specific 50th anniversary lapel pins for staff, council, etc., and to hand out at some of the events. The creation and purchase of a commemorative puzzle. Again, I'm not sure where that came from, but we thought that was a nice idea to take a nice photo of Stonehocker Farm and put that in a puzzle, as well as with the 50th anniversary logo, and either be able to sell that or to just give it away to certain folks who go through the resident recognition program, or however it makes sense to spread that. And then finally, the idea to create a celebratory event that's kind of a big splash event on its own, which at this point we call Celebrate Northglenn, which we'd be targeting toward the end of the year to show a video combination of everything that we've been able to do to celebrate the 50th throughout the year, and to bring those folks together who've been participating in some way throughout the year with current council, current mayor, former mayors, and really celebrate 50 years. So if we look at the elements, there are two, you'll see it broken down into 50th anniversary swag, which is primarily branding and promotion, and then the other is the events. So we look at the banners. As you can see, 3/4 of the cost for each of the banners themselves at each location is for the hardware itself. And in talking with staff and looking at the 50th anniversary committee, there is a longer term opportunity to utilize those banner locations in the future, not just throughout this year. So in looking at that, there were two elements. One was that we could use them to promote Northglenn arts, parks and recreation programs, other special events, and just branding at the entrances to the city. Or entrances where people say, what city am I in? Well, you're in Northglenn. So being able to have that branding opportunity. The banners themselves are 1/4 of that individual cost, and that's broken down. As you can see, if we looked at the 30 banners, I'm sure you've seen street banners before while you're driving. Having an impact visually means having a condensed amount of banners that repeat the message so that you see it over and over again. If we had 35 and looking at the distance between the light poles and how large the banners would be, we expected 2 areas of impact that would make sense without diluting the message, and that would be on Beauty Center Drive and at Northglenn Marketplace at 104. So those would be kind of the 2 key impact areas. Of course, with 35, we could spread them out further, but in our internal review, that was our recommendation that's really where we can make 2 areas of impact. We're able to spread the banner program out and add additional locations, and this is not set in stone, but those would be our recommended areas for future use as well, where that would be possible to use in the future as well as today.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Sure. I guess I was thinking about 104th, where we usually put the holiday lights. Was that not considered?
That's included in the recommendation, and I may have called it something incorrect.
Okay.
That would be my ignorance. But yes,
that's actually okay.
And then what about South Huron?
And the streets we can definitely consider. We were looking at a variety of places. One was those entrance areas to the city, as well as areas where the traffic counts were high according to economic development. So again, this is not set in stone. These are the areas that were recommended internally, but we can certainly look at that and see if that makes sense.
I would really appreciate it if you take a look and consider South Huron, especially because one of the biggest complaints I regularly hear from folks that live on the southern part of the city is that they feel really disconnected, like they're not a part of the city. And approximately, it's at 98th and Huron. I mean, that area is definitely an entrance point to our city.
Great, thank you. Anything else on banners?
I agree, that's great because it is an entrance to the city, so it should be included. And I definitely like doing more locations because it provides a sense of place and community, and it gives us the opportunity of advertising our events and other city items. So I like the more instead of less myself.
This question is probably more for Corey. You know, I ask this every time we get a light pole thing, but is there any issues with us putting these banners on there with Excel? And we're all straight with that, right?
A tariff was amended as a result of the previous dispute with Excel with a bunch of municipalities related to light poles. However, We are currently having a discussion with Excel about a similar issue because there's been recent issues with co-location of small cell facilities and still being able to have our banners and lights. So we think it's resolved, but we probably have one more communication with Excel.
So it's almost April. When do you expect these to be up and ready to go?
The turnaround time is fairly quick once we move forward. We have potential design already being worked on, and we would hope, our goal would be to have them up by the truck carnival at latest.
How big are they?
48 inches by 18 inches, so 4 feet tall by 18 inches wide. Going wider creates some wind problems, so that's why that size was chosen. Lapel pins is the next component listed, and again, we priced out, I think, from 4 different places, and to get kind of the size and impact that we would be looking for, we'd be looking at 1,000 pins at $3 a piece, essentially, and that would be that $3,000 that's listed in there. So again, it's something, if you guys would not like to move in that direction, then we can change that or remove that, or if that is something you'd like us to move forward with.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to get out.
On that one.
In drawstring backpacks, it does say new in the memo. However, it is something that was contemplated in the budget. What we did was contemplate adding a few more. So it doesn't necessarily the base budget that was out there originally, but I think what the item was has amended since it was brought before you. So we did price those out, and being able to do them at a variety of events and basically hand them to kids. They're the drawstring thin string backpacks, branded. Again, it's brand recognition, but it's also that sense of pride for the youth of this community to be able to walk around with the logo on them and feel a part of it, because obviously we were around 50 years ago. And so bringing that past to the present was kind of the idea with that it's more kid-focused, but gives them a way to participate in the celebration.
Sounds great.
So the 50 trees and Arbor Day trees, the reason that says amended behind it is it had been contemplated that this event would take place. With Westview celebrating its 50th anniversary this year as well, what they wanted to do was have the whole school participate. So instead of having 50 children, it would be 450 children. And in order to accommodate that space in the park, it required additional trees to be planted. So that's why it's looking at 5 tree locations with 450 children. And that, again, based on tonight, you'll be receiving an actual formal request to participate. And the idea would be to have you guys participate as much as you are able on April 19th. And then also ask some former or all former living council and mayors to participate in the event as well, so we can celebrate. Again, bringing the youth to today, or the past to the present, and being able to incorporate more folks into that celebration.
Thoughts on that one, or are we in consensus to move forward?
Sounds great. And I'm going to jump a little bit ahead just to the event side. So part of that, and that's contemplated in the individual budget for that event versus the overall SWAG budget, is each student would leave with a backpack as well as a tree for themselves to plant, for their families to plant. So, okay. And then the puzzle, again, I'm not sure where the idea came from, but I loved it when I heard it. And I think that's a nice, fun thing for families to do. Whether we would give it out or sell it, we could sell it as a fundraiser. They cost approximately, across the board, they run between $7 to $10 a piece. So it'd be a small number, but again, if it's something you like, we can do what you'd like. But the idea would be to honor the farm and the history of that through a very beautiful photo taken by a professional photographer and placed on a puzzle. So that's it.
How many pieces?
I think it's 64, but don't hold me to that.
Oh,
it's not.
That's reasonable.
The idea is a tabloid size, so it's big enough but not too large.
I think it's great for our
for the Historic Preservation Commission.
Very nice.
Fundraiser, right?
I wish I had thought of it.
I don't remember who thought of it, but I loved it. So the last kind of swag element isn't really swag, but it's kind of general awareness throughout the year. Periodic Brewing would do a 50th anniversary brew. And with the history of farming in the community, with barley, wheat, and corn, which there you go for a beer recipe, the idea was to do a farmhouse ale because it's generally appealing to most people, but it's somewhat unique to Colorado brewers. So it would be an American farmhouse ale is what we would do. And then they'd sell that at each of the events where they have a presence throughout the year.
I love the idea of the community event. For the first day, I think that's great.
Great.
Heather, our city attorney has a great suggestion, which is to talk with Periodic about when they bottle it, if they can incorporate our 50th logo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the idea is that the branding would be, with the 50th anniversary logo included, as well as a name that, if anyone has suggestions for a name for it at this point, someone had suggested EB Rain's Red, but it's not actually a red, so, so if you have any suggestions, let me know. In order to have it ready for May 10th or 11th for the Food Truck Carnival, they need 6 weeks out. So another question to pose to you, and I don't need an answer today, for the actual tasting, before they do the mass brew, if anyone would like to come along to taste, to check it out. So that'd be at Periodic Brewing. I don't know what it is.
Let me know.
So that's that. Okay. So looking at events, we already touched upon Arbor Day, April 19th, and as I said, that will be a formal invitation to all of you to participate in that event. As I said, it'll be 450 elementary school kids, and they'll be walking over from the school to participate and then walking back. So I think that'll be a pretty fun day. We're working on getting some sunscreen to put in the bags as well, and maybe we can do that throughout the year as well. I forgot to put that in there. Okay. The Food Truck Carnival, the reason that says amended is we kind of honed in a little bit more on that to look at doing a sculpture, like an ice sculpture on Saturday to make that an event to carve a 50th anniversary logo at the event. So that'd be a separate area that's lit and things like that. So that would be the splash on Saturday. And then on Saturday and Sunday, with Sunday being Mother's Day, being able to do family photos at I just call it a selfie truck, to take family photos that are then free for them to take with them. So one of the things we did here is that having opportunities for families to participate was important. So that would be a way to walk away with a momentum for Mother's Day. That's great. Derby Days, nothing has really changed on that. We just honed in on what the giveaway would be. Again, the drawstring backpacks would be used there, as well as bicycle bells with the 50th anniversary logo. Forged in Iron, I don't know how much you've heard of this event yet, but it was initially conceived, I believe, as a separate event, but now it's tied to the kickoff to the concert series. So the idea is a live performance to make an iron sculpture, which I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's flames and lights. It's very cool. And then the community component would actually be before the concert, because that piece needs to take place when it's dark. Otherwise, it's not that exciting. It's still pretty exciting. But the pre-part would be the community part where people can make their own pack to take home. So they scratch into, I forget what it's called. I always want to call it a soap block because that's what it looks like to me. But they make their own thing in it, and then they would take that souvenir home at the end of the concert. So that's that.
So just out of curiosity, what would be the sculpture?
It's a plaque that commemorates the anniversary, and then we also have in the budget 3 additional plaques, one to hang here. They'd have to create those ahead of time though, because the set and I've never actually made irons before, but as I understand it, they used to be shine and other things added to it after it's done in order to make it permanent. So they pre-create 3 plaques for us to have at the Justice Center here and at the Rec Center, well, the Rec Center, to commemorate the 50th anniversary. So the mural unveiling is amended as well. The mural goes in the underpass, as you know, and commemorates the past 50 years of the city. The amended component is we added a community component where the artist will be here on July 4th with prints of pieces of the mural. I haven't seen which segment of that is, but to sign those and hand them out to the community. So it'll be another, it's not necessarily just they can't paint on them all, but you can take away a piece of it with a signature from the artist. Magic Fest, we didn't really change anything from that, just that we would have a 50th anniversary theme, again for the selfies for people to take home, and then 50th anniversary 10 tattoos for the kids. Pirate Fest, now this one is amended, definitely. We anticipated doing a 50th anniversary prize for the regatta. So it has the best historic theme or past 50 years, some theme that forces or asks the participants to utilize the 50th anniversary as a theme, and there will be a prize associated specifically with that. We also thought about doing a either council or staff and council or staff putting our own boats in the regatta. That is a pro bono. And then we'll do the selfie truck because that seems to be something that people really like, and so we can bring that as well. And then 50th anniversary branded elements of the existing treasure hunt. And then the biggest addition to that one would be the idea of the mayor's feast. So this came about with us poring over, since 1974, Parks and Recreation has done a Parks and Recreation guide. So we looked through almost everyone had things that had taken place at July 4th because that was the biggest celebration for some time. At that event, there was a mayor's boat race. So the mayor invited other mayors in the competition to race boats, which we can't do. With the fireworks going off on the 4th of July, there's also a variety of other factors that we took into account with that and thought, what can we do to bring other mayors back to the city to help us celebrate? So we thought of a mayor's feast, so a small gathering to kick off the Pirate Fest and ask all the mayors to dress up as pirates as well, and have a kickoff to the event, and then have a contest on the stage itself.
If you feed them.
Fair enough. So that's the big change there.
Photo op and opportunity for some PR.
Yes. And that, again, the regional outreach and getting people to come in to help Northglenn shine externally as well. So the Outs Club dedication is listed next, and that's one that we had talked about or had been contemplated previously. In speaking with the Outs, they could put it in front of the board after this meeting. But the idea was to turn that from a carnival atmosphere, because we kind of had that at the other existing events, and tapping into those, and do a smaller dedication with a plaque on that building that commemorates it as the first city hall for the city. So I invite current former officials and Outs Club members and things like that. So a smaller event, but not more solemn, I wouldn't say, but just a pure dedication recognizing the history of the building within the city itself. Thoughts?
We'll let you know if we don't like it.
All right. I'm just waiting. So Celebrate Northglenn is kind of the biggest change, and that would be the biggest additional budgetary impact. As conceived, as we've discussed internally, it wouldn't be a gala dressed to the nines, but business casual or something like that in the evening of the 28th, early evening, knowing that a lot of our residents who will be recognized in the Resident Recognition Program, or original owners or things like that, who we would want to invite in some way to celebrate them and the history of the city. So early evening is what would be contemplated for that at the gym at the rec center. So, and we would, the idea is to post, do some lighting that shows historical images of the city throughout, so it doesn't necessarily look like a gym, but to have a program that incorporates the dance studios in town, choral groups and other youth groups, and even adult groups if they exist, to be able to participate in a program just to celebrate the last 50 years. And so kind of a 3-hour event is contemplated with a swag bag for folks to take away. At this point, we've conceived of it as a ticketed event, which could either be paid or unpaid, so select invitees who, it's not a ticketed event for them to pay, but we just provide this as a celebration. We could do a paid event as well. So, but as conceived, that's why the budget impact is what it is. So it would be a ticketed event that's invited guests versus a paid ticketed event.
Invited, although it is impacted budget, I still think that's the exhibitors. More of those would be able to attend.
So quick question. I see that the Elks Club Sign dedication and Celebrate Northglenn, are those meant to be both on the same
Yes.
day? That's intentional? Okay.
And part is availability of Elks and what day they could do it. So that would be like a late morning, and this would be early evening.
If you held it in the gym, which that's what you're planning on doing, how many can you hold in the gym?
Be about 250. So it'd be high tops, not a seated dinner is not what's contemplated. It would be high tops and then some seating for it.
I'm just going to show, depending on the type and size of table that we have in there, we can fit about 150 people seated at take if we do a full formal table. We can fit about 150 people plus circulation room. If we don't have everyone seated, we can fit between 250 and 350 people in the gym space.
So you were planning a table event? Is that what you said? I'm sorry, you weren't?
No,
Okay.
the idea would be to have some high tops. We do realize that some of the folks will be older and need seating, so there would be some seating incorporated as well, but it wouldn't be a seated dinner.
Have you thought about how long the program will be?
I don't think it would be terribly long, because I think after an hour of a program and talking heads gets, but a 3-hour event total between doors and egress.
Okay, I'm just thinking about in terms of how long people are going to be able to
Attention span, yes.
Well, no, like if they're all standing, in
Oh,
there,
yes.
how long people are going to want to stand and watch.
I do also wonder about that. I don't enjoy the standing events where it's the entire night that way. Like if it's a small cocktail reception and it's, half an hour of that, and then you get to sit, and then you get to sit for the show, or I don't know if there's ways to, because I don't want to stand for 3 hours either, so I don't know if there's any way to make that flow a little differently.
I think we definitely can. And there are ways to do that too with different areas of the event that are highlighting something specific. So if there's one area that celebrates 1969 and everything that happened there, and so people naturally flow through the different elements and then come to one location for the program itself, and then there's a little mixed mingle, and then egress is a little slower than everyone leaving at once. So there are definitely ways to do that with the programming and the format.
So do you envision having the program in the middle of it? Because I can see folks coming and if it's in the beginning and maybe almost immediately.
And we could do a variety of things with that. Like I said, we could have different stations where people could visit throughout that show different elements of the history of Northglenn in different stations, if you will. But if they want to sit, then they can just go sit if they'd like, or they can participate. We can do that for half an hour and then do the program. And so my limited experience with the city and the residents and staff that I've met so far is that a lot of folks want reasons to gather and see one another who they haven't seen in a long time. And so I think this would be a great place for them to do that. So in what I've seen so far, and yes, it is limited, I think people would want to stick around and chat and reminisce and things like that is my gut.
maximize the use of the time. 3 hours is long, maybe it's too long, just saying. And just, there has to be a reason for everybody to be coming there, and we do all want to see whatever's going on. So I guess there's some more logistics to be figured out.
Yes.
It's a great idea, though. I mean, it's a great idea to celebrate the city.
And I guess tonight would be direction to move forward on something that is like this with a budgetary impact or.
Yeah, we just witnessed 2 of our seniors in our community that aren't that much more senior than I am. And I think mobility and access has to definitely be a factor. If you're moving from station to station, you're fine. But if you're standing, prolonged standing, that doesn't work well for the elders.
Well, and the question I have as well is, how many people do you think could attend an event like this?
And we go with space. And if it's an invited event rather than a ticket purchase, then that would be a list that we would review and make sure that we have everyone invited that we would like to have attend. So we'd be looking at that 250 person each.
I think it's a yes from everybody.
I like the idea, yeah, and I think because we work through the logistics a little bit more, I think it could be something pretty special. Everything.
And I think it'd be unique to the city.
Yeah.
Versus something that you see everywhere or go to everywhere.
Yeah.
Great. Then the last 2 are the Safe Streets Halloween, which again is slightly amended because we contemplated part of the budget for the 50th going to hiring some actors who are professional actors to come in and play the parts of the Scooby-Doo characters, in part to help ease the line stress that I understand was an issue last year, and to give some entertainment value outside before they get inside. And then as well to have professional actors who stay in character and just make that much more of an enhanced experience. So we do have the Mystery Machine, apparently the Mystery Machine reserved for that night. So.
Just to add to that really quickly, we're not anticipating having the lines that we had last
Right.
year. So we imagine there will be some level of a line, but not like last year.
What is that based on?
Yeah,
right.
Why do you say that?
Well, I'm saying that because they're changing the format of the event to where there's going to be 2 entrances, right, Chief? And so I just don't want you to have this visual of the line extending to Huron Street like it did last year, and that's why we're doing these characters. So that change is underway in terms of the overall event lighting of it.
And then the last is Yellow Northglenn, and that was included previously, I believe, to purchase 500 ornaments with the 50th anniversary logo at Festive to hand out during that event.
How many people do we typically have attend our
Amanda, do you know that figure off the top of your head? I know.
I don't. I'm horrible at estimating the number of people.
A couple thousand, I feel like.
Is 500 going to be enough, or how are you going to decide if it's?
The idea would be 1 per family, because groups come. So if you have a family of 6, you wouldn't give 6. It would be a family ornament that would be for the family to share. So that's how we came up with that number.
I don't know the total number, so maybe this is unrealistic, but is there a way to increase that so that every current staff member gets one?
It's a budgetary impact, but I will do it. Increase it. Yeah, that's fine.
I would like to do that.
Great. And that's all I have to say. Thank you all very much.
You did a great job, Heather. I mean, I definitely can see that you've been working on it and tweaking it a lot, and now it just seems so much more robust and exciting. Like, I think you've really added a lot of great things, so thank you very much.
It's definitely a team effort, just so you know, everyone is working together on this, so, cross-departmentally and collaboratively, and it's really actually been a little bit of fun too.
Thank you. These are some really great things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now this is exciting. All right. The last discussion item is the draft 2019 resident survey.
Thank you, Mayor Dodge, members of council. This evening we have Lori Irvin with us. She is from National Research Center based out of Boulder. She's a senior research associate. And before we dive into looking at questions and getting feedback on questions, Lori is going to walk through some methodology aspects of the survey. As you saw in the staff memo, our last citizen survey was conducted in 2011. There's been a shift by some communities to no longer use citizen and go to resident survey, which is why you see that versus what we did historically. A couple of things. In reviewing the 2011 survey, I vetted it with the leadership team and got quite a bit of feedback on the organization of the survey. And so based on my work and experience with Wheat Ridge, the city of Wheat Ridge, and the surveys that I coordinated there, I looked and leaned on Wheat Ridge's most recent survey in 2018 to help address organizational issues that we had with our survey from 2011. So, overall, the reason why we're doing a resident survey is to measure resident satisfaction with city services. Some organizations refer to this as the city report card of sorts, and it's also to evaluate our city employees and the performance of our government. So I think a little compared to the 2011 survey, there's more of a definitive section in this draft survey that really asks specific questions regarding staff and government performance. And then the survey is also a way to gauge resident priorities within our government services. One of the things that we can dive into in a few minutes is whether or not we want to add additional policy questions. Right now I have one policy question posed in the survey. I don't have it under a heading called policy questions. If we add additional questions, we will call it a policy question section, but that's a question related to whether or not residents would like to see a library, anything library in the city of Northglenn, because I know that's been a topic of discussion for the past several years, and I have more to share with council at a future date in terms of some work that's underway in terms of Debbie Tuttle and myself reaching out to the library and making sure that we're on their radar screen as they're beginning their master planning process here soon. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lori to talk through some of the methodology aspects of the survey, because I know anytime an organization does a survey like this, questions get raised about, well, can everybody take the survey? How do you define a household? How do you define what's statistically valid? So I'm going to have her cover a lot of those bases before we talk about questions.
Hi, good evening. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, great. Well, Mayor and members of the council, thanks so much for having us here. We're really excited to have been selected to help you all with this important work, gathering feedback from your residents. It's been a while since we worked with you on that survey, so I worked with Heather and Wheat Ridge on their survey, so she and I have a pretty strong working relationship, so it's been nice to be in touch with her again. So I'll try to go through, fairly briefly. I know some of you are probably new to this kind of a process. Some of you maybe remembered it from the survey that was done years ago, or from other surveys that you are familiar with. Just a little history about National Research Center. As Heather mentioned, we're based in Boulder. This is our 25th year anniversary since our inception. Our principals started out in local government and saw a need for bringing in the voice of residents to local governments. So they kind of stepped out and decided to create this firm where our focus is survey research for local governments. It's the main part of our work. They actually wrote a book about citizen surveys and how a local government can do them, how they can use survey results. We have partnerships with ICMA, the International City County Management Association, NLC, LGL, and work with them to get the word out about resident surveys, work with their customers and clientele to help meet their needs as far as making data-driven decisions. A little bit of an overview of survey research for those of you not really familiar with this kind of a process. But generally, resident surveys are conducted in the same manner. You select a survey mode, you design the questionnaire, you select your survey recipients, you administer the survey and collect the data, analyze and report on those findings and present them to different stakeholder groups. The mode that the city has used in the past and the one that we conduct most often with our residents is by mail, and that's what we've proposed for the city of Wheat Ridge. I'm sorry, for the city of Northglenn. We did it also for the city of Wheat Ridge. And so in order to do a mail survey, one of the things that we do is we pull a list of all households within the city based on zip codes provided by the United States Postal Service. We find these lists to be the most inclusive of all kinds of households, both attached units and detached units. We know that those geographic boundaries don't always, the zip code boundaries don't always align with your jurisdiction boundaries, so we geocode all the addresses to make sure that they are within the city. And additionally, for the city of Northglenn, we're going to track responses by ward. So we'll be able to break the results down by each of the 4 wards, so you're able to see how your residents in your ward feel about the different services, the different amenities that are offered throughout the community. One of the things that we'll probably seek guidance from you on tonight is the number that we mail to. So we've proposed either 3,000 or 4,000. That number is easily adjusted to whatever you see fit. I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. We'll send multiple contacts to all households, regardless of their response. We send multiple contacts because it does increase response rate. We find that about 30% of our total responses comes from the second survey wave that we mail. That letter includes some language about, if you've received this, thank you so much, please recycle this survey, please don't respond twice. And we send a pre-notification postcard prior to that, just kind of alerting people that that's coming. One of the things that we can do for your survey that I've discussed with Heather is include a URL on the survey, the cover letters that go out to all households. This is where residents can go to respond online if they choose to do it in that mode. We would include a access code that residents would use to be able to access the survey online. And they can complete the survey that way. We find if we mailed about 1,000 households, we get maybe 100 to 200 responses that come back on the web. It's still not utilized that as much as you would think that it would be. It's a nice offer for those more tech-savvy residents, but people have the paper survey there in front of them. They're just thinking, okay, I'm just going to complete this now, and taking the extra step to either do it on my phone, which I would not recommend, but we have the capabilities to format it for phone or tablets or their computer. We do project a response rate. We see response rates for our mail surveys anywhere between 20 and 30%. And it really varies greatly by community. In 2011, Northglenn's response rate was about 29%, which is pretty strong. I would say right now that's our average is between 25 and 30% for our mail surveys. We have seen a decline over the last decade, a few points every year in response rates. People, I think, are just getting surveyed more and more, and they just, it is harder to engage residents in that way. So I think anything that you all can do to encourage your residents to complete the survey would be fantastic. And we have some different resources that we can provide to help with that. We weight survey results to reflect the community overall because we mail to a sample of all households. We want to make sure that those who we hear back from, that those responses are going to be representative of the community as a whole. So we weight the results, which again I'll talk about a little bit later. But with the selecting of survey recipients, it really is a balance between the city's resources and desired outcomes, and the cost. So obviously, if you could mail the survey to every household, that would be the ideal situation, but generally that's cost prohibitive to do so.
So the good thing about survey research is that we can randomly select households from all households, all eligible households, and mail to a subset of those. And we select without bias a person within the household to complete the survey using a method called the birthday method. We found that it's the person who most recently had a birthday is asked to complete the survey, and we found that there's no correlation between someone whose birthday is April 7th and someone whose birthday is December 27th as to how they respond, if they respond differently to survey questions. So we can mail to 3,000, we can mail to 4,000. One of the main reasons for increasing your sample size is for those geographic breakdowns. We want to make sure that the underlying number of responses in each of those sub-areas is going to be robust enough to provide you with meaningful comparisons. And so I think if we mailed to about 3,000 households, you would get roughly 600 to 800 responses. Broken between your 4 wards would be plenty enough to do that. If you felt like the response rate might be lower, then we might also want to mail to a higher number of households just to make sure that that underlying number of responses in each ward is going to be large enough. Generally, we like about 100 responses in each of those.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Are you mailing to the same amount in each ward or no?
We can do that. We did that in 2011. If the wards generally are equal, I know that with districting and that kind of thing, that generally that's the whole goal is to make a similar number of households in each. So if that's been done recently and there are roughly equal numbers of households in each ward, even if we did mail to an equal number, it would roughly fall out in the proportions that we would see. So maybe it's 25 and 26 and 23 and 25. But we can mail to an equal number in each ward, and we did that in 2011. So in selecting survey recipients, one of the other things to kind of keep in mind with that underlying number of responses that we're looking for is the margin of error, which you've probably heard a lot about in all the national surveys and polls that are going on. So the margin of error is largely dependent on that number of respondents. A 95 confidence interval can be computed for any number of responses, and it essentially quantifies what we call sampling error. And so the imprecision of the survey estimates, because some residents' opinions, the smaller group of opinions, are relied upon to estimate the opinions of everyone in the community. And so that margin of error with about 800 responses, which is what the city got in 2011, is about 3.5%. If we've got 1,000 responses, it goes down to roughly 3%. So it takes significantly more resources to decrease that number, that margin of error. Survey industry standard, you would see in a lot of the national polls, is plus or minus 5 percentage points. And that corresponds to about 400 completed surveys. So that's something to keep in mind when you're thinking about how many households you want to contact. Because we kind of work backwards and say, okay, well, if you want a margin of error of 3%, we need to get about 1,000 responses back. Based on a response rate of X, we will need to mail to Y number of households. We've got all this making sense and talking a little fast, so please feel free to stop and ask questions along the way. So I mentioned publicity and outreach, and it sounds, just from being here at this meeting, which gives you all the good feels today, it sounds like you have a pretty close-knit community, and I know that Northglenn has changed a lot in the last decade. And so I think that if we do the right kind of publicity and outreach about the survey, then we can really shoot for a strong response rate. These are just some of the avenues that we can talk about when engaging residents about the survey, how you tend to use the results, thinking about why it's important for them to respond, that there's a small number of households being contacted, so if you get a survey in the mail, it's really important that you respond. We can provide you with a bunch of language and examples from other communities for the communications department here that would be helpful. But publicity and encouragement from not only council and staff, getting the word out and spreading the word
word of mouth is one of the largest information sources in every community, will really encourage response among residents. And as I mentioned before, we do those 3 contacts, a postcard. About a week later, we mail a wave of the survey. Currently, it's at 5 pages, and we have a 1-page cover letter that's attached to that. Included in that envelope is a postage paid return envelope that is addressed to NRC for the respondent to mail that survey back to us. Of course, if they would choose to respond online, that data just gets recorded automatically and sent to us. There's an option in addition to the what we would call the scientific web survey, which would be that URL on the cover letter for the city to do an opt-in. It's something I've discussed a little with Heather. I'm happy to discuss with you more. An opt-in survey would be a separate URL that we would provide the city's communication team that they would send out and distribute to every resident. We get any avenue that we have to try to allow anybody the chance to respond. There are 1 of 2 things that we can do with those data. Over the last couple of years, NRC has been looking at ways in which we can incorporate those data with the scientific and survey results. Essentially looking at the demographic profile of people who respond to the scientific survey versus that open participation opt-in survey, and also looking at responses. We do several analyses to kind of make a decision as to whether or not we would recommend that would be a good thing for you to do. If we don't recommend what we call blending those data sources, we would still provide you with a separate report of tables of results for those open participation survey responses, so you can still see how all those people responded to that web survey. Again, once we get all the data back, we would compare the profile, the demographic profile of those people who responded to what we know to be true based on the census data and the most recent ACS data for the city. We know that women, older adults, homeowners, those living in detached dwelling units tend to respond at higher rates to cities or to surveys, and so we would want to look at those responses for those people who responded to the survey and compare them to population 18 or older for the city. And we would adjust the data so that that profile of survey respondents matches more closely what we know to be true in the community. This is a best practice in survey research that a lot of firms do to add to the list of ways in which we can say that these data are representative of the community and that we can generalize the results to all residents 18 years or older in Northglenn. We would, after we get the data weighted, we'll run our analyses. The report would include responses for every single question, cross-tabulations by demographic and geographic subgroups. NRC houses a pretty robust database of resident opinion from not only surveys that we collect, but surveys that we've found that either other research firms have done or communities themselves have done in-house from across the country. We have more than 700 communities database. And so we will be able to compare if the city chooses Northglenn's data to the national database or some other subset. A lot of our Front Range communities like to compare to other Front Range communities because of all the similarities that you have and challenges that you share, particularly at this very high rapid growth time. And so we have about 30 or 35, I think, communities in the Front Range that would be included in that benchmark comparison. As Heather mentioned, because we have kind of taken the Weaver survey as the basis, we'll still be able to, there's a lot of overlap in the 2011 survey and the Weaver survey for questions. So where there are questions that can be mapped across those 2 surveys, we'll be able to provide you with those trend data so that you can see how things have progressed since 2011. So a little bit about those deliverables, and one of the pieces would be I would come back and talk with you about the results, present those results to City Council at a meeting of your choosing, and highlight what we found to be the key findings on those results. Obviously, there's going to be hundreds of data points. So we tried to pare that down a little bit and just highlight the ones that we feel are jumped out at us the most and that will be important areas for you to investigate further or focus on or celebrate. So one of the things Heather mentioned was about validity of the survey and, you know, how can we be confident that these survey results are the same and have we administered the survey to every single household. And I've kind of discussed a lot of those steps already. These are all the best practices that I've covered. We randomly select households based on that comprehensive United States Postal Service list, geocode to make sure that the selected households are within the city limits. We select without bias a person to complete the survey. One of the things I did mention that we do is we oversample multifamily housing units because we know that those people who live in those units tend to under-respond to surveys. We want to make sure we're giving them a fair enough chance to respond to our survey. Providing civic appeal in the cover letter, again, helping with wording there. Any suggestions that you would have for those would be great. And then weighting the survey data to match the most recent Census or American Community Survey norms for the community. Another question that kind of has to do with validity of survey results is how do we know that, you know, what people say is accurate, what their opinions and their behaviors and what they actually do. And a lot of these surveys, they kind of tell us the why. We don't know what, it tells the what, we don't know the why. So we don't know why respondents have maybe answered the way that they do. But a lot of our questions are very broad. It's a broad swath or measure of various components that make up your community, that make up your local government. And a lot of the questions are very top level. They're not sensitive in nature, where people may feel the desire to select a response that might be different than how they might feel if you were asking about smoking behaviors, for instance, or some other kind of health behavior. People tend to answer differently to those kinds of surveys. But we know that well-conducted surveys, by and large, capture true resident behavior or intent to act accurately, and our own research has shown that where residents give the street repair the lowest ratings, those communities objectively do have worse street conditions based on secondary data that has been captured. So street quality ratings, the number of road repair workers that they have, and similarly you can go for fire response fire services where if a community gets lower ratings than other communities, it is likely that they do have objectively worse fire service ratings because fire response times are longer. I was trying to get the right word there, sorry. Fire response times are longer, and so regardless of kind of that strength of correlation that there is known to be in this kind of a survey, these resident data we feel are really important to measuring road performance. A lot of communities have started integrating resident survey data into their budget and strategic planning decision making. I work with a lot of front range communities here, and that's definitely something that's becoming of more interest in a lot of councils and a lot of the city staff to be able to bring the voice of their residents into the work that they do, even if it's maybe not the entire survey and all of the data points, because that's a lot. But maybe you pick 25 measures, and these are the ones that you're going to focus on for the next few years until you survey again. But we do feel that the methodological rigor that we use does allow us strong validity of the survey results that we would provide to you. So that's a rather lengthy overview. I don't know if Heather wanted me to go that long. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that. I'm happy to talk about the survey now. I don't know if you want me to lead a discussion on that or just...
Well, before we dive into that piece, Lori, I'd like to get consensus from council on two questions that we've posed. One is if you want to mail an equal number of surveys to each of the wards. And then the second question is whether or not you want to go ahead and do that online survey piece where we would primarily push it out via connection newsletter, social media channels, see if the Sentinel would pick it up and help us get that word out. That would be an additional $850, but based on the $40,000 budget I have, we can absorb that.
That's a good idea.
Yes. Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you. So I think now we can dive into the questions.
All right, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So it says that you're doing the 2 mailings in April. Is there an actual close time that you're not accepting anymore, and will that be on the survey that it has to be received by a certain date?
In our minds, yes, there is a close for data collection. Generally, we don't put that on the letters that we send out to residents because we have concerns that it might actually deter response. Someone sees, oh, I've got a few weeks to do this, and they set it aside. It's not urgent. If there isn't a date on there, there's more of a sense of urgency, we find. So it's definitely something we have done, but it's not typically what we do. And that date in our minds is around the beginning of June for the end of data collection. We'd like to have it about 5 weeks.
So that gives us a lot of time to promote it on all forms of our socials.
And I'll be able to provide you with updates on response so that you can make adjustments, as necessary to how your listening survey.
Are there other questions? I'm sure there's a research basis for this, but when I opened the survey, my mind had to do a little bit of a shift with the rating scale. So because so many surveys or so many like 5-star reviews kind of thing, the higher number is the positive. So can you speak to the research on that? Because I mean, if I opened this, I would have to be really intentional about shifting my thinking.
Sure. So that mostly is for our data entry folks, and in some cases, one is the best. So I do know that in some, it really varies. There's not, we haven't found that there's a clear winner for the directionality of either the numbers or the scale. It really varies widely. I would say most often for the surveys we've collected, we see the scale with the most positive scale point first to the most negative scale point. And for this kind of a survey, particularly, it's because for most items on here, people feel positively about it. That's why the scale is skewed to the positive. If you notice, fair, even though that for some people it may not be very good, we still view it as a positive scale point. So for the numbering you mentioned, that's largely for our data entry folks. But this is how we've done it, and it's been tested over and over, and we don't find that there's inconsistency in ratings that in one community, ratings tend to be very different than in another community for a similar item based on the scale.
I have a question. So are surveys typically this long? It seems a little, like it would take a long time. How long would it take to complete?
I would say it would take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. We kind of say, yes, 5 pages is what we consider the maximum threshold of tolerance for most people, for most residents. And so, as you've astutely pointed out, a shorter survey is probably going to garner a higher response rate because it's going to take people less time. They're going to feel it's burdensome. 5 pages is pretty typical for what we do. I think to see a bump in response, you really would have to go down to 3 pages. And so it's really kind of a trade-off about how much you want to ask of your residents versus how much information you want to be able to get from them in this administration versus having to do another survey the next year to gather some different information that maybe wasn't captured on this survey. So most of our surveys are about 5 pages. Others we've done are 7 pages was 7, or up to 10 pages. We've done that and surprisingly get a fairly strong for a long time got a strong response rate there. But I would say on average most of our surveys are about 5 pages.
Yeah, the cover page will include the why we're doing the survey, how it's going to be used?
Yes, it's pretty broad and generic, but if you want to modify the language, I think Heather's going to pass that along.
I forwarded it to the mayor earlier today because typically that letter comes from the mayor of each municipality, as well as on the postcard. So it is general language in terms of it being a satisfaction survey. I can take another look at it tomorrow and see based on council feedback tonight if there's more we can add to it. Part of the simplicity of the letter is you open the envelope, you look at the letter, we want you to get right to the survey and not have too much detail and direction in the letter of the survey. One of the things that I've included in the memo that we plan to do in terms of next steps is not only the debrief with council, but then do a report out on some key aspects of the survey data in the connection newsletter. So that way we hit every household in terms of reporting out and letting them know what feedback we got. And if we do have certain items that we decide to hone in on, we'll include that at that point in time. But I think you'll find that, you know, we had a lot of gap in time between the 2011 survey and this draft survey, and my goal and recommendation to council is that moving forward, we conduct the survey every other year. This is not the type of survey that you want to conduct on an annual basis, but if we do it every other year, we'll be able to better tie it into strategic planning efforts, overall performance management discussions, potentially tying in some of the data to the budget document and how we present the state of the city and things of that nature.
I guess my point would be the likelihood of me filling out a 5-page survey, pretty low, unless I'm given some really good reasons why you're asking for this information.
Yes.
Unless you give some really good reasons, 5 pages, ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, so I'm sure Heather can share that language with you.
And I guess I would ask, what would be the top reason for you as a resident of Northglenn and as a council member? What would be that one hook thing that would be included in a letter for a survey that would get you to take it?
Just off the top of my head to say, in order to serve you better, you know, we're conducting this survey and this is how the survey will be used. This is the purpose of it, this is how it will be used, and, you know, please participate. And keep it short and simple.
Yes, so we definitely say that, you know, you're one of few select households, your response is really important. These data are going to be used by city council and staff to inform decisions and make planning decisions based on the results. So we do say those kinds of things broadly.
In the past, we've offered incentives to get your survey back in a timely manner. So that might be something that you might consider. It was maybe a month of free water, you know, or whatever it is, but some type of incentive that would get the citizens to respond.
Generally, we can look into that. We generally find that incentives aren't needed because of that sense of civic duty. And it can kind of actually negate it in some way. People don't want to see their tax dollars being spent. The most effective form of incentive is actually giving a $2 bill to every single person, regardless of whether or not they receive it. And that can get really costly. And like you might expect, you get some phone calls from some people who may not like that. We've done raffles for gift certificates to local businesses or rec centers or events, and those tend to not be as effective either. I think the clients I've done that for find it's a lot more work for them to get that all organized for little return. We've actually done tests where we split the sample and some people get that and some people don't, so you can see how it impacts response. And we just haven't seen that it's very helpful for increasing response.
It's also an anonymous survey, and so I don't necessarily want to encourage residents to bring the survey into my office and drop it off. It really needs to be mailed to center to keep that level of anonymity, which I think is really important. So I'm not necessarily recommending that we do any type of incentive. I think the primary pushback that I would anticipate is, why didn't I receive the survey? Why didn't I get one mailed to my household? And really inclusion of the online survey is going to help us address any type of feedback that we get on those things.
Would you recommend you don't want people to come into your office? I don't get it.
I do, yeah, I do want them to come into my office. I just don't want them to bring an anonymous survey into my office. If somebody does, we will keep them sealed. Hopefully they'll be sealed. And in my past experience, we would get one or two that would trickle into City Hall, and we put them in an envelope, get them to NRC right away.
Yeah, you know, I might be wrong, maybe you can recall the story, but the last, when we've done surveys in the past, it was optional, they could put their name on it or not, so I don't know, and I don't know if that's something we want.
I think in the we don't, is the simple answer. In the 2011 survey, when I say there were 2 verbatim questions included, and the recommended draft that you have in front of you, there's not a verbatim question or 2. In terms of the questions that we're asking, I didn't think that they would be of value. Certainly you can disagree with me and we can have that discussion, but with an anonymous survey, when you ask for certain verbatim responses and you create the expectation for some type of follow-up that you really can't execute on, it sends a conflicting message. So that's why I didn't include any verbatim questions.
And that's fine.
I think there's always going to be the eager people that are civic-minded and don't mind doing the 5-page report because they want their voice heard, and there are people that are going to throw it in the trash when it comes to, because it's 5 pages. So I don't know how you ever really correct for that, but I think that that's normal, and you want responses from people who are concerned about the city. So.
Okay, so let's, unless there's any other questions, go ahead and dive into the questions. So the organization of the survey is such that questions 1 through 9 focus on community and services. Are there any perspectives or feedback on how we have these questions organized? Or do you see something that's missing that we haven't caught?
I've looked through all of it, and I think that you've hit on a lot of good areas. You're asking the right questions. It feels very similar to the last one, which I thought was a good representation of thought of what's going on in Northglenn. So I personally really like what you've done with it.
Section, or you want us just to weigh in, period? I'm just asking.
Section. So then the next section is city government and employees. These are questions 10 through 17. So this is where we're asking residents to rate the overall performance of Northglenn city government in a broad sense. And then we drill down to asking residents to rate city government performance based on interaction with elected officials, interaction with Northglenn employees, overall impression of Northglenn employees. And then there's a couple questions that transition more into public safety related questions. Any feedback? Okay. Economic development questions are questions 18 through 20. And part of why we included these economic development questions is consumer behavior, overall impression of the business options that you have in the city of Northglenn. And so like question 19, for example, is where we're asking residents to rate how frequently you make purchases in Northglenn, which is a really good data point to have. We have it broken down by grocery shopping, health services, meals and entertainment, household items, computers and electronics, and general retail. so I found in the past that those economic development related questions tend to be very helpful when we're having different strategy, overall policy discussions moving forward. And then the one policy question that I mentioned is question 21, and in working with Lori, you know, sometimes policy questions have two parts or it's a three-part question. Right now we have it as just one question, which is if the city of Northglenn were to work with anything library district to build a library in Northglenn, how likely or unlikely would you be to use it? And so I'm open to feedback and welcome feedback on this particular policy question. If you have other policy topics that you would want to work with, that's where you have to weigh the pros and cons of do we lengthen the survey or do we keep the survey at 5 pages? And for the draft exercise, I was trying to keep it at 5 pages. Yes?
Sorry, I have one on this one.
Okay.
So I have to ask, what's the why behind this question?
I think the why behind the question stems from when the library moved out of Northglenn. The response from our community was, why did you move the library out of our community? And I think that, and I just did a meet and greet with Pam from Anything Library District a week ago. They are seeing and hearing of a greater need to have a library in Northglenn. And so part of the purpose of the question, or really the purpose of the question would be, can we use this as a data point to support advocacy for working with the district to have a library in the future?
And so my reason for asking why, I don't want to make it seem like a negative thing per se, but my anticipation was that was why you were asking the question. I mean, I think most of council, even those that are fairly new, probably heard residents that expressed frustration around that, about the library not being there. There's a little part of me that has some hesitation solely from anticipation of the responses and a sense that we're setting them up. And there's an expectation that residents are going to read into that question. And so that's where my concern comes from. You know, if you mentioned it to Pam, I don't necessarily want to draft our questions based off of others, but this question would have a lot of concern for me if we hadn't at least addressed it with them, because I do feel like it could set it up a number of ways. And I have an update from the Anything Library as well that I was going to give, but I'm going to just slide it in here a little bit. My concern would just be that they have an intent to consider going back out for this again. And my only concern would just be how we're setting this question up. To me, it seems in a way that residents can either read it one way, where we're really interested in bringing the library, and then the flip side of that is bringing out that anger again. So,
really good points, Councilmember Whitman. I appreciate those points, and that's part of the risk we run in asking the question the way it's phrased currently. And so that's where I would look to all of you to get your feedback on whether or not to leave it or remove it.
I kind of agree with Marcy. Both Julie and I went to a meeting at Anything last year, and promoted the idea of having a library back in Northglenn. And the response was, if the bond issue passed, that would be the only way that would happen. And it did not pass.
I am all for having a library in Northglenn, but I also am very much aware that it is not in my hands to make that happen. A bond would have to pass, as I've been told, to make it happen. If this could maybe set up the stage to, I don't know, maybe get an idea of something like that. But I mean, even the bond wouldn't just be Northglenn. So, I mean, it wouldn't even help. With that question, if it came up on the ballot again. I mean, I think, if anything, you can help us advocate and provide at least a data point saying we want it. Although, I think that message has been communicated very clearly by the people at this table and by many residents, but we could continue it, and we're not going to stop doing that anyway. So, I mean, I don't mind having it on there. I don't know how much it could actually do, and I do worry that, you know, we might be setting people up to be disappointed if it's not something that comes to fruition, or like, you know, we'll get penalized for not making it happen when it unfortunately is. Although we will continue to advocate, and that's never ending.
Well, in all fairness, there are other data points that we can use from the library district itself in terms of number of residents who are registered with the library district who reside in Northglenn. So there's other ways to get data that we can use in those advocacy efforts. So I'm fine with removing the question if that's council's desire, and that's what I'm hearing.
I'm fine with removing the question because I just kind of feel we're not politicizing a lot of questions, which we're not. Everything's really about services in Northglenn. This one does have that political aspect that maybe doesn't feel as comfortable, so I would be okay removing it also. That makes sense.
We'll do that. The next question is on information sources, and right now the way we have this packaged is keeping it to, for instance, the social media sites, just generally Facebook and Twitter. In the future, I think we can look at breaking out the police department Facebook page, Twitter, and but again, in an effort to try to keep it to 5 pages, I didn't go to that level of detail. The next piece is demographic questions. The one thing we did tweak on this is D11, and there's an extra question mark. There's not supposed to be 2 question marks there, but is what is your gender identity, and that's based on discussions with Lori about moving towards providing more inclusive options for respondents responding to the survey in terms of female, male, and prefer to identify another way. So that's different there. Any other questions, feedback?
So one question that I'm kind of thinking about, and I'm not sure, I don't want to see it in here, but is there a question that says, you know, what would you like us to do more of, or what type of things would you like to see more in the city? I don't know, I feel like it's more of like services, what do you do? And then also, just a side note, on question number 5, the last option is commuted to a light rail station or commuter rail station. We don't have light rail here. I'm not really sure how many people, where would be the nearest light rail that any of us could commute to? I don't really know if you need that option, because RTD doesn't give us that option yet, so one day. I don't know, that's just one thing I was kind of thinking, are we missing?
So the light rails will be starting to be tested in this year. And it's
yeah, but you can't write it.
Pardon?
You can't write it until,
yeah. But still, it's there, you know, yeah, it's coming.
That's a question that always, we had the same discussion in Wheat Ridge. Is it premature to ask this question? And it's really a behavioral question. And Lori can jump in here in responding. So, you know, it's about use. I mean, in our case, it would be, are you a resident that's driven somewhere else to use light rail or commuter rail? So if you don't think it would be a value in this iteration, we can certainly hold it, and the 2021 survey we will have the N-rail by that survey and ask that question.
And it's true, I mean, we don't have the light rail yet, but
we'll get one.
But a lot of folks use the RTD.
Yeah, written in RTD class, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so consensus is to remove that question?
Or you could even do, have you, a more useful question would be, have you used any of the local park and rides? Would be, more useful than the light rail question. Because people tend to do park and rides and take the bus down the number.
Okay. That's a good suggestion. Thank you. Going back to your other comment, Councilmember Mullica, I think it would be helpful for me to know what you're thinking in terms of what we would want to know from residents that they want more of. And that's typically where you get into more of the policy-related questions. So cities will ask questions about things along the lines of accessory dwelling units, perspectives on short-term rentals. We are in the process of addressing short-term rentals, so I don't feel like we need to be asking that or even touching on ADUs so much. So if it's something from a service level perspective or services perspective that we're not offering, that would be helpful for me to get feedback from what you're thinking on that front.
Well, and I guess my biggest, I don't want to add to the length of it, and so I don't know. It's not a diehard, but because I think the length is already too long. And so I don't want to add an extra question, but it was just something I felt like was kind of missing. And to be honest, I don't really want to dive into like the political black hole either, because the policies, you could really add a lot of different policy questions. You can just have the ADU, other things like that. But I guess, I don't know, just a general comment. I'm not really sure how to address it here without increasing the length. I don't want to increase the length.
Thank you for that feedback. Thank you very much for your time this evening. All right.
This next item, somebody just tell me, you can tell me faster.
Communications.
We move to communications this evening. Jenny, would you like to start?
Sure.
Sorry.
That's okay. Great. Anyway, just a few updates for me. On Saturday, March 16th, Mayor Pro Tem Esquivel and I held our first Ward 4 meeting of the year. It was well attended, and we had a lot of great conversation of everything from our legislative delegation, giving an update on what's going on in session, to Jason Loveland breaking down where taxpayer dollars go and how we spend them. So we're going to be, in the spirit of surveys, going to be sending out a survey online to try and hear more from our residents around how they want us to host our board meetings, and as well as folks helping us choose locations for the board meetings for the rest of the year. So stay tuned for that. Additionally, I attended the Parks and Rec Advisory Board's first Croak Reservoir Subcommittee meeting. That was more of an information session, and they spent a lot of time kind of visioning and thinking through what they want to work on and what direction they may go as a committee. And I have to say, I was really impressed by staff. I learned so much about water chemistry that I had completely blew my mind. And the next time that group will come together is for another work and information session on April 25th at 5:30 p.m. at the Justice Center. And then finally, on a Friday, I attended the St. Anthony's North Community Breakfast. And it was really small, really low-key, but great to hear about the work that they're doing. They shared that they're in the process of completing their own community assessment or community needs assessment, that they believe that they'll have some data to share specifically from Northglenn. And so I'm going to be really interested to see what comes out of that as we layer our own surveys in. So that's all for me this evening. Thank you.
So a couple updates from the library board. So So one of our Northglenn residents did attend the meeting last week to pose a question. They have seen an increase in groups that have been out in front of the library, particularly on Huron, and the individual came to kind of inquire as to does the library pick and choose individuals that can be out in front of the library to represent whether it's a religious party or campaign. And so the board and their attorney did just kind of clarified that as with any public space, as long as they're within 30 feet, they don't pick and choose, and they're free to be there. So it's not something that the library is like picking or inviting or anything like that, but certainly within folks' right to gather and to be present. Their representative, the manager from that particular branch, also, not that it specifically addresses Northglenn, but Thornton has been addressing some of the camps that are on the backside of the Anything branch there. They came through and did quite a bit of cleanup in the area behind the building, which Anything is excited about because it actually brought in a lot more sunlight into their building, but just something that they have been noticing and paying attention to. They are also in the process of hiring an architect to do some space planning and some audit of some of their buildings and just determine some of their spacing and programming needs. They're constantly looking for ways to grow and to expand their programming, whether it's bringing studios or any of the additional programming, and in many of their branches they are maxed. The branch in Brighton currently is trying to find space in the middle of a room, or I mean in the middle of the floor of the entryway to hold children's programming. So definitely at a loss for space in many of their branches. And just two more, I promise. For any of you who use their Hoopla programming, which allows you to do downloads and so forth, they have had to make what is definitely a tough decision for them, but they are going to need to reduce the monthly allowance from 10 to 7 items that you can have checked out. They have already exceeded, or are about to exceed the budget of $100,000 with the numbers that they're at. So it's definitely a popular program for you to be able to download and to access content online, but there's also this evaluation of how do they pay for that. So it's a good program. And then lastly, when their last board chair had met their term, Ray, wonderful guy, the library decided that they wanted to do an art sculpture at the Pearl Mac branch. So on April 27th, the community is invited to come out to the Pearl Mac branch for the dedication of their art sculpture called the Singing Tree. It is a tree that you can play, and it generates music, and they have it tuned to be more relaxing in the morning and a little bit more fun, and maybe I'll use the word loud, in the afternoon, evening. It has been a long time coming project that they've been working on, but to be able to see this sculpture come to life and be able to play it, like kids play it, and have a nice sitting area around it. So I just encourage that you can come and see that on April 27th at the Pearl Mac location.
The only thing that I would like to say is that in light of the wonderful proclamations that we read tonight in resident recognition, just to remind the public that you can vote for people online. The form is online, you can fill it out. And I would encourage you, as I kind of encouraged the senior organization when I talked to them about it, it's not only open to people who we know, like former mayors and just Northglenn notables that might have name recognition. It would be really great to have some nominees, people who just do nice things for their neighbors. If there's somebody that you know that is always out there shoveling somebody's walks for them all the time, if there's somebody who goes to assisted living facilities just to talk to people, like I love those types of stories that we don't get to hear about as much. So just please give some consideration to people that you know, and we would love to do a ton of those this year because they really are, good for the heart of Northglenn. So that's it.
And it was a very nice addition, I think, to what we're doing. So it's good. Just before the study session, the outside agency funding committee met, and so we are recommending some funding. We also have some questions for council. There were 7 funding applications requests, and so just kind of give you a little overview. And please, I can that's something here. The Ralston House Pinwheel Garden, we're going to go ahead and fund them, but we're also going to increase it to 2 gardens instead of 1, and we'll have 1 set here at City Hall and then 1 over at the Justice Center. So we thought that was cool. The next one is the Adams County Education Consortium. Usually the Indians backpacks to Great Cases event. Normally the mayor hosts a table, but the mayor can't be there to host a table, and neither can the mayor pro tem. So wondering if there's anyone that would like to be at that event to host the table for the kids. And so it's a school activity, and we bring the kids into what they call it now, was the merchandise mart. We host a table of up to 7 kids. So if anybody that wants to volunteer to do that, it is on April 5th. And it's a lunch, and it's usually around 11 o'clock, between 11, I can't remember.
It says 11 to 1:30.
11 to 1:30.
And it wasn't, when I went last year, there was actually only 1 other mayor there. The other tables, you usually sit at a table with kids from your city. And there were staff people there were other council people there, so it definitely wasn't limited just to mayors. As a matter of fact, I hardly saw any mayors there, so.
Okay, but in the past, typically there's
They ask, yeah.
So if anybody is interested, that's great. And if nobody can do it, I really don't. So, but just let me know, what you guys want to do.
I don't know that we see.
Okay,
We'll
well,
test dancing.
I'll be happy to do that. Right. So, okay, the next one is the Mary Chacha Memorial Distinguished Service Award. And just wondering, for input, is there any interest in attending that? And that will be April 10th in the evening.
Isn't there something else April 10th?
Yeah. It's the Adams County Mayors and Commissioners Shoot Courts. Yes. Celebration.
So that's, no? Can't attend. Okay. All right, so Joanna, I guess there won't be anyone attending that one. And then Smart Commute, going ahead and finding a table for that, and also that's April 26th in the morning. Is it in the morning? No, it's in the afternoon. And we're wondering if anybody would like to go to that. That's a typical, last year we couldn't go because we were at CML, but they changed the date. So, and it's basically transportation oriented, but what's going to be happening in the future. We try to, it's 11 to 2 and 26, and I'll be over at Alliance. No, not Alliance. Oh, Amazon. So anybody?
I'll be there.
Okay, so who else would like to go?
I'm already going.
You're already going, okay. So there's 3 of us at least. And if anybody else has any interest, please let Joanna know. Yeah. So, all right. Next we have Almost Home, and they have their annual Spring Out for Homeless Gala, and that's May 3rd. Is anyone interested in doing that? No?
I've done that in the past.
Okay, so we have one that's going to go.
And some of us are just kind of doing something on our own, just buying individual tickets.
Yeah, but we're wondering about a sponsorship for
How much is it? I know. It's pretty much by ticket. So
the ticket is
1 ticket. But it's a sponsorship, so it has all that recognition, the website stuff, table centerpiece, all of that is $250.
I think $250 for the ticket. It says one ticket, but then it's the bronze level sponsorship. They've changed the way they do that. I mean, that's a great event. It's always really well attended by all the municipalities. We've always had a presence there. Last year it was just so many. Well, except for that year.
Yeah. And actually, I've been to a couple times, and I was the only one there. So, not sure which one we went to.
It looks like 8 table for 8 is $2,000, and we have done that in the past. That was in 2017. So
that's one candidate. She was the only one from council.
we were all there.
We were all there.
Yes. I think it's a great event, but and I could see a sponsorship just to get the recognition for Northglenn, but that's my opinion.
So
I'm in. So I mean, if you guys want to think about it, oh yeah, sure. So
okay. So how many?
So we just why don't we
should do a table? Or
well, yeah, we could.
We'll just let Joanna know, and then we'll go from there. Okay. And that is May 3rd. The next one is July 21st, and that's the Ralston House dinner on the Hideaway, the fundraiser. And we've got a lot of folks that are already wanting to go, so we are sponsoring that. I think we're going to have 3 tables at this point, so.
We'll have seating for 12.
Right.
What's that date?
It is the 21st of July, and it is 5. It's in the evening. So just let Joanna know. I mean, she's already got a list of folks that, just let her know so that she'll have papers. And the other one, and the last one, is Community Bridge Center, and they're having their annual golf tournament. And we did have quite a conversation about that. And there was mixed emotions, just kind of wondering how council feels about funding a golf tournament.
So there was conversation around that there might be a perception of the community that that's, I don't know. I had just said I wanted to open the discussion because it has never been my experience that it had a negative connotation. Because golf tournaments are really popular fundraising concepts. People do them all the time for a variety of things. And maybe the community doesn't know how they're financially structured. And maybe that's why it's frowned upon. I'm not a golfer, so please do not think that I'm like, I want to play, so please let me play. I don't care. I just feel like there's a lot of organizations that choose to do that, and I don't want to turn down because we have a bias. So I wanted to just open the conversation to what is that about?
And the other comment was we were wondering, Joanna's going to pursue it, to find out what other fundraising events they have that we might be able to fund instead of the golf tournament. So, that's kind of on the table. We have to find that out. But, just wanted to find out what council is. I can tell you that Becky really is against it, funding of a tournament. So, another golf tournament.
I'm not in favor of that.
So I'm fine with it. It's one of the long-standing fundraising activities that nonprofits utilize. Generally speaking, it's just to get a different audience that is at the event as opposed to a gala type event. It's for some organizations, and if I'm not mistaken, Joanna will check this is Community Reach's single. That was fundraising, major fundraising event.
And it is major.
It is very long-standing, and they do some serious fundraising at this event. I would be in favor of it. I would be in favor. They're in Northglenn, so I think at least if it's just a sponsorship, or you don't have to have a team, at least we do a sponsorship for it. I'm not sure what the difference is of sitting for a meal and getting a sponsorship versus teaming
Well, that's
up.
why I kind of wanted to open the discussion. Right. The comment was made that it was frowned upon by the community. And I couldn't figure out why, because I don't sit in that. Can you speak to why you're not in favor of it?
I don't golf.
Okay.
What am I gonna do there?
Yeah. Well, but is there someone else on staff or that does that could?
I can support an event, but
Well, and I think actually the sponsorship itself, just brings recognition to the city. I've been to events in the past where you sponsor a hole, right? And then they put, your logo at that hole. I mean, it's just having your recognition that you're supporting the organization.
So their sponsorship levels are exactly that, but they include, like the smallest one includes one person can go, right? So, which I think is fine. I agree with Marcy. It's no different than sitting at a gala. It's just the choice of activity. The next one would be golf for two, but then you get that recognition as a whole, and you're giving money to the organization, and then it goes from there. So
was it $650 for two, or $300 for one?
How much to get on the program?
Tea or green recognition signage on one hole. Recognition on alternative marketing materials.
How much is that?
$650.
Banner is $650.
$650. That's not
Oh,
very
the program is $750. I'd probably
Maybe
go
that
up.
would, I would like that.
Yeah.
The average card.
At least
Is everybody
I
okay
don't
for
want to turn them
sponsorship?
down.
I think so.
Okay. And then if no one golfs, maybe we can put it out to staff or
Golf, whoever. Somebody that works.
Corey, go out there.
Somebody
and
do
golf.
have staff members, including myself at golf. Now, whether or not we're good at golf.
That's another story.
But no, we have staff members that golf, so we can put it out. Staff.
So Joanna,
Do the $750 beverage cart sponsor includes the program.
and that was all of the same recognition, so that's great. So the only other thing I have would be this coming Saturday, we're going to have our first board meeting at the Justice District. So hopefully the weather will hold out, because I think we were talking about snow or rain or something, so we'll see how it goes. But we're looking forward to it. So.
Awesome. Well, I've been out and about lately since our last meeting, so with quite a few of you, I went to the Ralston House dinner at 240 Union, and can't resist the opportunity to give them more money. I just love that organization. So the event was lovely. 240 Union hosted, and they do a wonderful job of the organization. Even more a part of our city is wonderful. So, and then also attended the 5-Star Gala, which is a benefit for Adams 12, the Adams 12 Foundation. So that was another great event, and that money goes back to students in our community. So that was also lovely. And then this past Saturday, I actually attended the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Bravo Awards dinner, I think is what the name of it was. And that is an amazing organization. And to think about how we can also, as a city, support our Hispanic entrepreneurs, I think would just be great. I think everyone should know that that organization is available to them. A personal fun note is the current CEO is an old high school friend, so it was nice to see Mike and watch him shine and organize an amazing event. So that was definitely worth my time. So. Joanne?
Or nothing tonight, Mayor? I have nothing to leave here.
Nothing tonight.
The next item is public invited to be heard. So Spencer, unless you want to get up here. No? Okay. All right, we will skip over public invited to be heard. And I will move to adjourn the regular city council meeting to enter into executive session pursuant to section 4.5 parent D of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for legal consultation and advice, and pursuant to section 4.5 parent G for negotiations concerning the purchase, sale, lease, or other acquisition of real or personal property or interest therein, or concerning any contracts except those required to be the subject of competitive bidding.
We'll close that vote, and the motion to adjourn to executive session passes unanimously.
Thank you, we are adjourned.